Very good morning to all of you. Welcome to this webinar on AQMM version 2.0 and the overview of the peer review portal. So we'll start. We have with us CA Pramod Jain sir, who is convener of the Center for Audit Quality Directorate, CA Purushottam Khandelwal ji, who is chairman of peer review board, and speaker of our session, CA N. Jaindran sir, who will walk us through the audit quality maturity model version 2.0, and the secretary of peer review board, CA Mohit Bajalji, who will guide us regarding the overview of the peer review portal. So I'll hand over to CA Pramod Jain sir. Sir.
Namaste to all. I, along with my council colleague and CA Purushottam Khandelwalji, welcome each and everyone out here, including our speaker today, Jayendranji, and of course Mohitji and Nidhiji, who was the secretariat for the respective peer review board and the Center for Audit Quality Directorate, and all the participants. Friend, our another council colleague, CA Purushottam Khandelwalji, is the chairman of the very, very important board, which we say the peer review board out here. Along with, of course, he's also heading the RBA. Friends, you might be thinking that why today this program is there jointly of the Center for Audit Quality and the peer review board. The purpose is dual. One is, of course, where we talk about the peer review board, which is in the process of launching its portal, which is a total e-portal where the reviewer, the practicing unit, and the board itself, all would be on all one platform. Everything would be electronic, which the presentation would be given by the respected chairman of the peer review board. And another important aspect of the peer review, I would say here,
recording
is the
in progress
audit quality maturity model. You know, many of you must have already heard about this audit quality maturity model, AQMM, which we call in short. The version 2 of which has been already launched. The version of 2 which have already launched, which is effective from all the peer reviews conducted on or after 1st April 2025. So when any practicing unit self-evaluates its audit quality maturity through the self-evaluation model of the AQMM version 2, of which the tool is there, which would be talked about by our respected speaker. So when you do a self-evaluation, at the time of peer review being done, the peer reviewer would be evaluating what level you have achieved along with your documentation. So however, how you self-evaluate yourself, you have to have those documentation. You have to present that before the peer reviewer, who would verify that whatever level you have achieved, the marks which you have got, that would be there. Now this level 1, 2, 3, 4, which would be there, that is to be displayed on the peer review board's website, where not only the peer reviewed firms along with their levels, but also level-wise AQMM version 2 who are peer reviewed, the list would be there. Friends, the thing is that some might feel that this AQMM is mandatory only for the auditors who are doing audit of a listed company or a central bank audit or a multi-state cooperative bank or a central insurance company, not the branches. But the scope thereof has been already approved by the council to be increased in the graded manner. But when you self-evaluate, it is not the purpose that only when it is mandatory you have to do. All those who are watching, maybe they are the peer reviewers or maybe the practicing units. If you are a peer reviewer or a practice unit, anyone, you have to tell various members in practice, their firms, that they can get it self-evaluated first and then verified by the peer reviewer on a voluntary basis also. I'll request not to wait for it becoming mandatory and then verify yourself. So you can self-evaluate yourself today, say today after this session you do it, and you feel that your levels are less, certain aspects you can update, So you take some time, 2, 3, 4 months, update those things, and then again self-evaluate. And whenever you get your peer review done later, at that time, see that what are the score mass scoring you will be getting. So I'll request everyone to, when we talk about taking the audit very seriously and taking audit to the next level, this AQMM would be very, very helpful in each and every practicing member's firm. And again, the role of the peer reviewer, the role of the peer review board is very, very paramount in establishing, because in the coming times, I foresee that various stakeholders who want to get their audit done of their entities, they would be looking at the peer review board website and checking, okay, I want a firm who's peer reviewed plus who's having a AQMM level of say 2, 3 and above. So that would be there on the peer review board. Hence, the combination of peer review board and AQMM is very, very important. And even friends, just to inform, there has been a proposal from the Professional Development Committee of your ICI to recommend to the C&AG that when they give the scoring on the quality aspect, the AQMM level scoring would also be taken into account in giving the scoring. Hence, the combination of this AQMM and peer review is very, very important, friends. I am hoping that today you will be having great learning in this session. And further, I'll request that you disseminate that in your all other friends who are not watching today, or even tell them later on to watch this video later on also. Thank you. Have a great learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yes, C. Purushottam Khandelwal, sir, Chairman of the Peer Review Board.
Good morning, respected Chairman of the Center for Quality Audit Directorate, Pramod Jain sir, Faculty General ji, Office, Mohit Baijal ji, Nidhi ji. As rightly Pramod ji said, that I know Pramod Jain sir, they are always insist to ensure the quality service provided by the practicing member. Friends, the future is excellent services, but with quality services. Without giving a quality, you cannot charge money, you cannot satisfy the regulator, satisfy the stakeholder. So the peer review board is a board established by Council in 2002 to ensure the quality service provided by the practicing member. Friends, there are 4,85,000 members currently in the institute. Out of 4,85,000, only 1,60,000 members are in the practice. If I'm saying other way, out of 1,60,000 members, either father, son, husband, wife, brother, sister, much not in the numbers. I roughly 1 lakh member, those who are providing a practicing services. But all these 1 lakh member are our brand ambassador. You know that government has given a mandate to ensure the quality control, because the ICI is the only body who give the license to the member. The license is valid from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. They had given an autonomous to the members. That Prime Minister always said the signature of chartered accountant carry more power than the signature of Prime Minister of this country. वो ऐसा भी बोलते हैं कि आप अर्थ जगत के ऋषि मुनि है, तो जो साइन चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट ने की है उस पर पूरा देश भरोसा करता है, सब स्टेक होल्डर भरोसा करता है, रेगुलेटर भरोसा करता है। लेकिन वो सर्विस सही दी है या नहीं दी है, उसके लिए हम क्या कर सकते हैं? हम ऐसा नहीं कि मेरे कोई 1,60,000 मेंबर अच्छी सर्विस देना नहीं चाहते, दे इंसिस्ट कि उनको अच्छी सर्विस देना है, लेकिन बाय अ लैक ऑफ टाइम, जैसे किसी ने आज से 50 साल पहले सीए किया था, जैसे मेरे जैसे ने 87 में ज्वाइन किया था, जब ये सब नहीं था, अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड नहीं था, ऑडिटिंग स्टैंडर्ड नहीं था, जब कीप ऑन चेंजिंग, एवरीथिंग इज चेंजिंग, लर्निंग, डी लर्निंग और रीलर्निंग, तो जो जो चेंजेस आ रहे हैं हम उसको कैसे अपडेट करें? या तो हम प्रोग्राम करें सीपी के थ्रू, या किसी पढ़ के सुने, या फैकल्टी से सुने। तो जो पीयर रिव्यू बोर्ड है वो किसी को डराने के लिए नहीं है, धमकाने के लिए नहीं है। हमारा काम है पीयर रिव्यू बोर्ड का मेरे मेंबर को सक्षम करना कि जो सर्विस हमने यहाँ दी है वो बराबर है या नहीं, वो आपका पीयर, आपका दोस्त, आपका समकक्ष आके चेक करता है और आपको गाइड करता है। मैं जब भी मुझे मौका मिला है पीयर रिव्यू से बात करने का, तो उनको ये बोला कि दोस्त ये कमाने के लिए नहीं है, इसमें आप प्रोफेशनल अपॉर्चुनिटी मत ढूंढो। आपकी भावना होनी चाहिए कि मेरा दोस्त जो सर्विस प्रोवाइड कर रहा है वो इंश्योर करना कि क्वालिटी बराबर है कि नहीं है, अगर नहीं है तो उसको कैसे इंप्रूव कर सकते हैं, हम उसको बाय हार्ट से क्या सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं। तो सपोर्ट सिस्टम है वो हमारा पीयर रिव्यू बोर्ड देता है। अब तो हम अभी आगे से जो अभी मोहित जी बताने वाले हैं, आपको लगता है कि पीयर रिव्यू में इतने सारे फॉर्म भरने पड़ते हैं, आधे लोग तो पीयर रिव्यू के नाम से ही डरते हैं, पार्टनर कम कर दो, 5 से 4 कर दो, 4 से 3 कर दो, अब तो एक में भी लेके आ रहे हैं, तो प्रैक्टिस थोड़ी बंद करेंगे। तो कहीं ना कहीं तो आपको स्टैंडर्डाइज करना पड़ेगा, काम तो करना ही है। प्रमोद जी जब लेके आए स्मॉल एंड में ये जो नॉन कॉर्पोरेट एसएससी के लिए फॉर्म्स, तो स्टैंडर्डाइज हुआ, यूज एंड करे तो होगा। जब इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट ऑनलाइन पोर्टल लेके आए तो लोगों को लगता कि अब तो अरे ये सब काम कौन करेगा, लेकिन काम और आया। कई लोग ऐसे थे जो पोर्टल पे काम नहीं कर रहे थे, छोड़ के चले गए। वहां जो ये फाइनेंशियल reporting ecosystems involve many critical contributions, each of which must play the respective part of the overall financial reporting system to function properly. उसका proper function हो रहा है कि नहीं है। Recognizing to the role of auditor, audit regulation in creating an environment for enhancing audit quality, the council, a proactive initiative, mandate a peer review mechanism to enhance the overall quality of assurance services. So peer review है only for the assurance service. जहां आपने साइन किया है, तो साइन करने के साथ आपकी जिम्मेदारी फिक्स होती है। आपको लगता है कि साइन किया और पैसा मिला, ऐसा नहीं है। अगर आपने साइन किया है तो आपकी जिम्मेदारी फिक्स होती है। जिम्मेदारी फिक्स होती है तो हम आपको जगाने का काम करते हैं इंस्टीट्यूट, कि भाई आपने जो साइन किए है उसके साथ आपकी क्या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी जुड़ी हुई है, आपके साथ क्या रिस्क है, वो रिस्क आपको हम बताने का काम पीयर रिव्यू बोर्ड करता है। So the mandate peer review mechanism to enhance the overall quality assurance service rendered by the profession in phased manner effective from 1st April 2022. ऐसा राइट प्रमोद जी ने बोला कि ऑडिट अगर सीए पीयर रिव्यू फॉर्म है तो सी&एजी उसका 25 मार्क्स अभी देते हैं और शायद हम आगे जाके उसको और बढ़ावे। बस इतना कि गवर्नमेंट कंपनी का जिसका ऑडिट कर रहे हैं तो उनको भी लगता है कि एश्योरेंस है वो क्वालिटी सीरीज है, क्योंकि सी&एजी बाद में भी इंटरव्यू लेके पूछता है ऑडिटर को ये क्वालिफिकेशन कहां से आई, आपने ये देखा है या नहीं देखा। तो आपको बॉस अगर ऑडिट इज अ सीरियस बिजनेस, अगर आपको इस ऑडिट के प्रोफेशन में रहना है, पढ़ना पड़ेगा, अपडेट रहना पड़ेगा, साथ में जिम्मेदारी भी रहेगी। क्योंकि जो दूसरी एजेंसी है, नापरा है, सेबी है, आरबीआई है, वो सब अपने ऊपर नजर है। जब भी कॉर्पोरेट कोई फेलियर होता है तो 2 फिंगर रेज टू ऑलवेज आइदर वन सेबी या इंस्टीट्यूट, ये दो क्या कर रहे हैं। तो हमारा काम है आपको जगाने का, मेंबर्स को जगाने का और सक्षम करने का। नॉट ओनली जगाने के बाद भी हम आपके लिए क्या रोल कर सकते हैं। हमारा मेरा पीयर रिव्यू बोर्ड रेगुलर प्रोग्राम ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम ऑर्गेनाइज कर रहा है अक्रॉस द कंट्री। मैं तो पहले जो भी प्रोग्राम अटेंड करना है उनको भी बोलता हूं कि दोस्त आपको रिव्यूअर बनना है ना बनना, लेकिन अगर आपने प्रोग्राम अटेंड किया तो आपकी ऑफिस तक कम से कम ठीक हो जावे। अगर इस 1 लाख मेंबर में से अगर एक प्रोग्राम में 50 लोग भी अगर पढ़ के जावे और 50 दूसरे 50 को दे तो 100 लोगों का तो काम सुधर ही जाएगा। तो हमारा काम है आपको समझाने का, बताने का, क्वालिटी के बारे में बताना। प्रमोद जी ने AQMM 2 के बारे में आप खुद अपने सीने पे हाथ रख के बोलो कि क्या मेरी फर्म में ये सिस्टम है या नहीं है। क्योंकि इंडिया में ऑडिट फी क्या जो ऑडिट का लाइसेंस फी है जिसको COP बोलते हैं बहुत ही कम है। I got an opportunity to meet the president of England and Wales. There are 2.5 lakh COP भी, कम से कम 2.5 लाख रुपए COP भी है। अगर आप COP भी 2.5 लाख है तो आपको क्वालिटी देना पड़ेगा, फी भी लेनी पड़ेगी। तो आप ऐसा मत समझो कि हमको लाइसेंस मिला है तो हम जो साइन करेंगे वो चलेगा, ऐसा कभी नहीं होगा। आपको साइन करना है तो जवाबदारी लेनी पड़ेगी, क्वालिटी सर्विस देनी पड़ेगी और पैसा भी पूरा लेना पड़ेगा। आई विल नॉट टेक मच ऑफ टाइम, मोहित जी इज हियर, दे विल गाइड अबाउट दी जो वेब पोर्टल उन्होंने बनाया है। वेब पोर्टल इतना अच्छा है, जस्ट वी आर वेटिंग फॉर द ग्रीन सिग्नल ऑफ माय टॉर्च बेरर प्रेसिडेंट एंड वाइस प्रेसिडेंट सर। आपके भी फीडबैक के लिए हमने रखा है। प्रमोद जी आपके भी जो फीडबैक आए इनको श्योर करेंगे। मेरा काम है मेरी पूरी काउंसिल को सेटिस्फाई करना, उसके बाद ही आगे ले जाने का है। मोहित जी ने और उससे पहले निधि जी ने भी इस पे पोर्टल में काम किया है। देखो सबके प्रयास से ये पोर्टल बना है, तो हम चाहें कि अच्छा बने, बेस्ट बने, ट्रांसपेरेंट बने, क्योंकि रेगुलेटर भी चाहते हैं कि ट्रांसपेरेंट सिस्टम हो। पहले आप दिल्ली से पैसा भेजते थे 1 रुपया और लोगों के खाते में 10 पैसे जाते थे, लेकिन मोदी जी के आने बाद में 100 रुपए भेजते, 100 रुपए उनके खाते में जमा होते। हम भी चाहते हैं कि हम जो करना चाह रहे हैं वो ट्रांसपेरेंट हो, रिव्यू सिस्टम, रिव्यू को सिलेक्शन ट्रांसपेरेंट हो, एवरीथिंग शुड बी ट्रांसपेरेंट। तो वो कम से कम जब हम पोर्टल लेके जाएंगे तो लोगों की जो रिक्वेस्ट आ रही है वो कम से कम बंद है, कम से कम ट्रांसपेरेंट सिस्टम में काम करें, क्वालिटी सर्विस से कोई नहीं डराने वाला आपको, हम बैठे हैं। So thank you so much for giving an opportunity and organizing a joint program with under Center for Audit Quality Maturity Model. So I request Moiji to say a few words about the portal, how it will work, what is the unique feature. Hand over charge to the Nidhi. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So now CA Mohit Banerjee, who is Secretary to Peer Review Board, will give an overview of the peer review portal.
Thank you, madam. Good morning to all of you. As already explained by the convener, CA Pramod Jain ji, Center for Audit Quality Directorate, as well as the Chairman Peer Review Board, CA Purushottam Lal Khandelwal ji, we are working upon developing a peer review portal, which will be a dedicated portal giving and catering to the needs of the practice units as well as the peer reviewers. As you all are aware that in line with the theme Vishwasniya adopted by the Institute for this year, where one of the A out of the Vishwasniya, I think the first A stands for accelerating digital transformation. So in true spirit of that digitalization of the various activities and functions of the Institute, we are developing this web portal, and it is likely to digitize all the various activities of the entire peer review process, starting from the filing form for appearing for a test by a peer reviewer, as well as the DLH things would also be available over there. There are links, as well as the Form 1 application for peer review, which is required to be filed by the practice unit. That will also be filed through the process of this portal. Then the entire process up to the issuance of the certificate is likely to be conducted through the portal. I'll just take you through some of the manuals that we are developing with regard to this portal, where the first manual that we are proposing is for the practice units, where all the practice units will be required to register themselves at this portal. Who would like to go through the process of peer review, they will be required to register. We will be proposing to that only the head in charge will be able to register himself at the portal. The head in charge of the practice unit will be required to register. If there are any one person is being head in charge of multiple firms, then all those firms would be visible in a drop down, and he will be required to select the particular firm for which he would like to initiate the process of the peer review. That will be done by the head in charge. After that registration process will be done, the head in charge, the dashboard of the portal, he will be required to log in first of all. After registration, they will get the login credentials at their email IDs, registered email IDs and registered mobile numbers. We will send the login credentials. After logging in, the practice unit, the head in charge of the practice unit can go to the dashboard, which will contain all the details of that reviews going on of that particular practice unit. He would be able to initiate the process of peer review by filing Form 1 application for peer review through the portal itself. What we are doing is once he logs in and tries to fill the application for the peer review, a lot of details will be auto-filled up. The details regarding the firm name, FRN number, address, even the period of review that would be required to be reviewed for that particular practice unit, all that will be pre-filled. The system will pre-fill all that information. Apart from that, all the information of the partners of that practice unit or the proprietor and the branches details, all those details will be pre-filled. The most important thing that will be required to be filled up by the practice unit mostly would be with regard to the details of the client list that will during the period of review. So there also we have made a very convenient way that either they can fill all that information online through at the portal. It's a very convenient system. Otherwise, we have already given a Excel tool over there, which they can download and fill the information offline. And after completing the information offline, they can upload it on the portal and then they can submit the form through the portal itself. They will just click on the submit button and then an OTP will come for a verification. After giving the OTP, they will be able to submit the form. The various other forms are also required in the peer review process, like Form 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 for various functions. All those things will be available at the dashboard itself. Through that dashboard, they will be able to navigate through different forms and will be able to fill up all those forms. Once the form is filled up, submitted by the practice unit, it will come to the board through the portal itself. Board will also be one of the recipient of that portal. So the board would also, once they will examine the form, if there are any inconsistencies in the form, then they will send back the form through the portal itself to the practice unit. Then practice unit will revise it and submit it back to the board. If the form is okay, then the portal itself, I want to reiterate, the portal itself will generate the panel of reviewers. The system will generate the panel of reviewers. 3 panel of reviewers based on the information provided by the practice unit will be generated through the portal itself. And once the board clicks on the submit button, issue panel, immediately an email would go, system generated email would go to the practice unit, as well as it will be displayed in the portal itself, in the dashboard of the practice unit. And mind you, at any stage of the entire peer review process, the practice unit as well as the peer reviewer will be able to see which stage is their peer review application or entire process is on at this point, at any point of time. What is the current status of their peer review? So that they will be able to see at the portal itself at any stage, at any point of time. Once the form is submitted, the panel is gone, then the practice unit will be required to select one of the peer reviewers out of the panel of 3 reviewers. They will be required to select one of them. In case there is any reason that they cannot select any one out of the 3, then they will have the option to reject all. Once they reject all, they will be required to give a reason. Over the portal itself, they will be required to mention a reason for rejecting all the peer reviewers. Once they reject, automatically, immediately it will come back to the board. The board will see the reason. If the board agrees, the board will allot another panel. It will immediately go back to the practice unit. Then the practice unit will be able to select any one out of them. Once they select any one out of them, immediately it will reflect in the dashboard of the peer reviewer. All the peer reviewers, we will be registering themselves in the portal and we will send them their credentials for logging in. So they will also be able to log in at any point of time. Once the peer reviewer, the practice unit selects a peer reviewer, immediately an email would also go to the peer reviewer. System generated mail would go to the peer reviewer, as well as it will be reflected on the dashboard of the peer reviewer that so and so firm practice unit has selected you as a peer reviewer. In that case, once he gets the notification in the notification section of the dashboard, after that, the peer reviewer will examine that request, and immediately a form 2 will open up displaying the confidentiality, the conditions which are required for accepting the assignment. Once the reviewer is satisfied that he can accept this assignment, he will immediately submit the form 2, which is a confidentiality declaration. He will immediately submit all the details of the peer reviewer will be auto-fetched in that. He will not be required to fill up much of the details. He will only be required to, file the CAPTCHA and submit the form. After that, a form 2, a new form 2A will come up. It will be declaration of eligibility, meeting the acceptance for his eligibility conditions. That will also be there. There also, he will only see which the conditions which he has already seen before at the time of accepting the assignment. The same conditions are there. He will be required to submit that form 2A. After submission, immediately the form 1, which was filled up by the practice unit for that particular peer review, will be available for view by the peer reviewer. The once he submits all the declarations. The moment he is able to see the form 1, after that he can view it, examine it. If he feels that there is some problem in that form, is required to be amended or something, he has the option of sending it back to the peer review practice unit as well. Once he sends it back, the practice unit will take its time to send it back to the peer reviewer after completing all those necessary formalities. And after that, the peer reviewer will be required to select a sample. The form 5 is specified by the board for selecting a sample. The form 5 would be available in the dashboard of the peer reviewer. The moment the peer reviewer opens form 5, the entire list of clients which the practice unit had filled up in his form 1 will be visible in form 5. for selections of samples. Here, what we have done is that we are proposing is that we will be putting up a filtration facility available for the benefit of for the help of the peer reviewer based upon the sample selection criteria laid down by the board. As you are already aware, there are various sample selection criteria laid down by the board that for each assurance engagement, at least one sample should be selected. For each partner, at least one sample should be selected. For each location of the practice unit, at least one sample should be selected. Specified number of listed entities should be selected. Specified number of bank central statutory auditors of banks, insurance companies, they're required to be selected. So that concentration clients are required to be selected. The cases of advisories issued by the regulatory bodies, they are required to be selected. So various sample selection criteria, 8-9 sample selection criteria are there, which are laid down by the board. As all the peer reviewers as well as the practice units, they are already aware of it. So based upon each and every sample selection criteria, the filtration facility would be available in the Form 5 itself. The peer reviewer would be required to select a particular sample selection criteria, and based on that criteria, filtration of the client list would be available for him. Out of that, he can select any one or the required number of samples. He will be just required to put a tick, and then a sampling would also be, it will continue in the Form 5 itself. It will get ready for him. Here also, for the benefit of the reviewers, we have given a facility of Excel tool over there. Excel facility utility tool is provided. They can either do it on an online basis. If required, they can do it on an offline basis by downloading that Excel utility facility, which they can upload by after sampling is done by them. They can then upload it in the form in the portal itself. Once it is done, they will submit it. Then the information will go to the practice unit. These are the samples which have been selected by the peer reviewer. Here, I would like to reiterate that in case you select samples which do not meet the sample selection criteria laid down by the board, the system will not allow you to move. A pop-up will come that you are not meeting so and so sample selection criteria. So we are reducing the kinds of queries which later on keep coming up from the side of the board that you did not meet the sample selection criteria. So all these kinds of things will come up at the level of sampling itself. The system itself will guide you that you have not selected the sampling as per the criteria, so and so criteria, so that they will guide you and you will be able to then select the appropriate criteria, sample based on appropriate criteria. Only after you meet all the criteria, then only sample will allow you, the portal will allow you to submit Form 5. Once you do that, after that, the sample, your Form 5 will immediately go in the notification section of the practice unit. The practice unit will be able to just agree with the date of visit. If he agrees with the date of visit of the peer reviewer, he will agree with that. Otherwise, he will mention his own date, and then he will also submit. Then it will go between the peer reviewer and practice unit. The notifications will keep going. Form 6 and 7 are also required. These are only optional. In case some extension is required or in case some additional documentation information is required, they will also be required they could also be filled up online through the portal itself. They will be able to navigate through the dashboard of the peer reviewer as well as the practice unit. Between them, they can keep moving it. The options are available. Then once the peer reviewer completes his review after visiting the firm, then he will be required to issue a preliminary report. In case he finds certain deficiencies, he will be required to issue a preliminary report. The preliminary report format is available in the portal itself. So you will be required to fill up your report through the portal itself. This is how it will look like. It will contain the observation. Here again, you will be required to select the client for whom you want to make this observation. Particular observation will be required to be filled up in the observation section. You have to mention the client, select the client list, or the samples which you had selected will automatically appear over here for your benefit of the peer reviewer. He will be required to select the technical requirement, write the technical requirement which is relevant with regard to the observation that he wants to make based on his review. He will be required to then select a particular category also. The observation is based upon which category. Maybe it is Caro reporting, it is based on Income Tax Act. The observation is based on some essay or requirement of an accounting standard. So will be required to select a suitable category. Then he will submit. He will be having the option of adding as many observations as possible. There will be options available to add or edit. After that, he can submit it. Once he submits it, it will go to the practice unit for his comments. Notification will come into the portal of the dashboard section, notification section on the dashboard of the practice unit. The practice unit will be required to give his response on each of the observations. A section is already there. So in a specific section for each and every observation, against each and every observation, the practice unit will be required to give his response. Once he submits its response, it will come back to the reviewer. Then reviewer will be required to give his final comment against each and every response given by the practice unit. Once he submits his response, he will be just submit. He will just click on the submit button. After that, the preliminary part will be over. After that, he will go back to the submission of the final report. He will navigate through the dashboard where the formats of the final report as well as all the annexures, annexure 1, 2, 3, all of them will be available. He will be required to fill up all those annexures 1, 2, and 3. 3 in case it is required, in case it is applicable, or he opts for a voluntary AQM review. Only in that case it will open up. Otherwise, it will be disabled. So the peer reviewer will be required to fill up all these annexures also through the portal itself. After submission of all these documents, he will submit a Form 9 through the portal itself. Whatever documents he has filled up, they will automatically appear in Form 9. Here, the peer reviewer would also be required to select whether he has received his fees or not. That confirmation is required to be given by him. So here also, he will just, from the drop down, he will just select yes or no, whether he has received the fees or not, and then he will click on submit. Automatically, all the documents, all the annexures, the final, whatever you are the peer reviewer is required to submit, they will come automatically in the Form 9 itself. All the relevant sections will come. All these things which are not applicable in his case, in case the preliminary report he has not issued, then preliminary report will not be reflected in the Form 9. In case he has issued it, only then it will be reflected in the Form 9. So only all the relevant things will appear automatically. Once he submits it, after that, the peer reviewer will be required to issue a final report. Here, he will have the option to choose either clean report or qualified report. Only 2 types of reports are required to be issued. Once he clicks, he decides which report he wants to issue. In case he decides to issue a clean report based upon the response received on the preliminary observations, or he has not issued any preliminary report, in that case, he decides to issue a clean report, then all the format will be already there. All the fields like firm name, FRN number, period of review, they will all be pre-filled up. So he will only be required to fill up one information, that is the date of his visit to the practice unit. Only those 2 dates he will be required to mention. Then all his credentials also will come, his name of the peer reviewer. If there is any AQMM level that he has filled up in an annexure, that will automatically come over here. So all those things will automatically come. He will be only required to click on submit button. And I think some OTP will come here in the case of final report. No? No. Okay, and then he will be required to submit the final report. After that, once he submits a final report, either clean or qualified. If he decides to issue a qualified report, then he will be required to fill up additionally, apart from the clean report, the basis for qualified opinion, the reasons for qualified opinion, that he will be required to fill up in the qualified report section. Once he fills up that, then he either clean or qualified, he will be able to submit the report. Once he submits the report, it will automatically come to the peer review board and be assigned immediately to one of the officers of the peer review board through the portal itself. The portal will determine to whom it will go. Once the peer review board office, they will examine the report. They will be also able to communicate with the peer reviewer as well as the practice unit through the portal itself. They will send their comments. They will also put their comments on the preliminary report section. On each and every observation, they will be giving their comments. Then on the final report also, if they agree that everything is fine, otherwise they will have the option of sending it back or giving their comments to the practice unit as well as the peer review. That chatting is available. PU query, admin query, all those things would be available in the portal itself. So after the office is satisfied that a report is okay, is fine, they have processed it, then because sampling is also already done, the system will allow you to move forward only if you meet the sample selection criteria. So that is also already done. So after that, the office will send it to the agenda. The report will be sent to the agenda. The moment the office sends it to the agenda, it will be reflected. The status of the report will be reflected on the dashboard of the practice unit that it has been sent to agenda of the board. That status will be reflected. So you need to check only at the portal what is the current status of your report. So it will always be available at that time, at any point of time. So once that is submitted, it is sent to the agenda, and email, auto office generated email will also, portal generated email will also come to the practice unit that your report has been sent to the agenda for consideration at the next meeting of the board. Once it is considered by the board and approved by the board, it will be marked as approved or whatever is the decision. As per the decision, it will be marked in the portal. The moment it is marked in the portal as approved, immediately the certificate of peer review certificate will be generated by the portal itself, and it will be available for view or download at the dashboard of the practice unit immediately. And then an email also would come to the practice unit that certificate has been issued to the practice unit along with a copy of the certificate. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Moji. There's a question that can the client list be submitted by the PU? Can it be imported from the UDIN portal? I don't think so. He'll have to fill it.
He has to fill it.
The firm has to fill the list. It will not be imported from the UDIN portal.
They can import it. They can import it from the UDIN, but they have to
submit it.
They have to submit it at there is an Excel facility at the portal itself for the client list.
Yes.
So they can import that UDIN list and then upload it on the Excel utility tool as per the different criteria laid down by the board.
Yes.
And then submit it to the portal.
Right. And will digital signature be required?
No, digital signature
won't be required. Okay. Thank you, Moji. Now the speaker of our next session is CA N. Jayendran sir. He is a partner in a mid-sized firm of chartered accountant handling tax and assurance and consulting functions, having more than 35 years of experience as a practicing chartered accountant. Sir has been involved in this development of the audit quality maturity model right from the beginning. So he is the best person who can give a overview of this AQMM. So over to you, Jayendran sir. You can start the session.
Thank you, Nidhi, and respected members and in charge of the CAQ and the peer review board. I'm here to make a presentation on the AQMM. I will share my screen and immediately, without wasting much time, start the process of the presentation. So this is the presentation on audit quality maturity model version 2.0, as has been informed by Mr. Pramod Jain, that this is the updated version after the version 1.0, and it is applicable for all peer reviews which are scheduled after 1st April 2025, provided AQMM is applicable to them. This is the agenda of the presentation. Some little bit on the CAQD and AQMM, introduction to AQMM 2.0. Then the three important sections. I am presuming that today's audience includes some practice units and also some peer reviews. So this is for both for the preparer and for the verifier. What is required to be maintained and what is required to be checked. So Center for Audit Quality Directorate has some publications, which is the Audit Quality Metric Model 2.0 and the implementation guide. We issued the AQMM last year, and in this year, I think beginning of this year, we issued the IG for the AQMM version 2.0. The IG is a document which gives guidance as to what is expected against each of the parameters of AQMM 2.0. And they also have said there are also other publications called Significant Audit Matters, where various qualifications, EOMs, and reports are all available in one place where people can access them to understand how other units have issued a qualified report or how they made a modification or how they've done an EOM, taking the help of that language and modifying it to suit their requirements. The AQM also has some tools, which is basically the utility for self-evaluation or AQM 2.0. This is the tool which Mr. Pramod Jain was saying, that you evaluate yourself first to see where you are. And as we all know, there is no end to improvement. We have to go on improving to get more and more score. And this is a tool where every 3 months you can evaluate and update wherever your shortcomings were to find out where you reach. Level 1 is the lowest and level 4 is the highest. So little more on that in a later slide. There is also utility for the bank branch audit. There's utility for determining materiality. This is a very useful utility where people can utilize this tool to determine materiality, and it becomes a proper documented process. How did you determine materiality? There is a detailed tool for compliance to the standards and auditing standards. So this covers various aspects, and it gives you a bird's eye view of how you are so far as compliance with the audit standards are concerned. There's a utility on engagement letter. It's a very simple utility, but very useful. It helps you generate engagement letters. All you have to do is update an Excel file with all your client details, the type of audit and fees. And on a click of a button, it generates the engagement letters. All you have to do is print them, sign them, and send them to your clients. The other initiative was the Executive Master Program New Age Auditors. A lot of my firm people also have attended this, and it's a very comprehensive program which gives you a quick insight into auditing. Now they are planning to do residential in Hyderabad and possibly in Jaipur. There are programs on audit quality aspect. They have quality cafe sessions. Whenever quality cafe sessions are there, one must attend. Very interesting discussions. And there are training programs for the officials of SAE of Syria, which is what the other initiatives of Audit Quality Directorate is. This is the roadmap of how AQMM has come. Before we start AQMM, I would like to say AQM is a tool which helps you to evaluate the quality of the firm. As Mr. Purushottam Khandelwalji said and Mr. Pramod Jain said, we are the only profession who is entitled to do audit. Everybody can do tax. Everybody can do advisory. You don't need qualification to do advisory. You don't need qualification to do tax. Even a BCom can do tax and he can do effective tax. But an audit can only be done by a chartered accountant. And that is a privilege that we have. And we have to ensure, as the conveners have said, that we maintain quality so that nobody can point a finger at us. And in order to evaluate whether we have quality or not, we have a tool which determines at what maturity level of the firm is achieved by updating honestly and truly the answers against each of this. And because could be a bias in your favor, that is the reason why it has been clubbed with peer review, so that the peer review evaluates whether you have filled up your assessment in an unbiased manner or in a biased manner. And therefore, whatever score you give, he can update those score, and what score the peer reviewer gives is the final score that the firm gets. So this began in 2021 with the release of AQM version 1.0 after incorporating comments received in the exposure draft. Council in 2022 issued the peer review to host the level of firms assessed on the ICA website. 2023 AQM version 1.0 became mandatory for firms conducting audit of listed entities, certain banks and insurance companies. Then in 2024, a group was constituted to revise the AQM 1.0 because there were a lot of comments on the AQM 1.0 and it needed a revamp. And pursuant to the revamp, I think in 2024, towards August, the 2.0 was released. And in 2025, as I said in the beginning, the implementation guide and utility for self-evaluation was launched by the AQMM. So to whom is this applicable? AQMM version 2.0 is applicable to firms applying for peer review on or after 1st April 25. If a firm wants to get the peer review done as a separate exercise, they can do it. Or if they want to do it along with the peer review, they can do that also. The firm may request to have an AQM review done for a shorter period also. For example, the first time you do evaluation, you are in level 2 and you are not happy with it. Work on your shortcomings, and after 6 months, you can ask them again to review your AQMM. And you could, if you have addressed your shortcomings, move to 3 and slowly move to 4. So that option is there. And as they say, as you sow, so you reap. It's an exercise. You have to put in efforts to get the best of the results from the AQM exercise that you do. The reviewer is, the AQM review is conducted along with the peer review of the firm. No additional fees in such case. However, if the AQMM is done separately, there will be additional fees. The AQM review is conducted as a separate exercise. The level of the firm assessed under AQM peer review is hosted on ICA website along with the date of validity of peer review certificate. And as Mr. Pramod Jain said, that very soon there will also be a list for the level 4 firms. Who are the level 4 firms? Who are the level 3 firms? Friends, this becomes a benchmark. Today, nobody knows whether you are a good firm or a bad firm and what is your rating. And if somebody wants an access to a good firm, they say that we want to appoint a good firm of auditors. Where are the reference points? This will become a reference point for the auditees to access and look for quality firms. And therefore, it is very important that we all strive to become level 4. And the level 4 has the maximum number of firms listed. And that will ensure that there is uniform quality and a wider spectrum of firms for the auditee to choose from. Otherwise, today, if you have a reference, there are only the big 10, big 15 firms who are known. But there are other firms who may be doing good work. They are not known, and this could be the reference point for that. So now let me introduce you to AQM version 2.0. So these are the various publications. The AQM version 2.0, this is the bare act, or what you can say, the text of the AQM model version 2.0. IG implementation guide, how to implement this bare act and how do you score and how do you take care of things. And the utility to help you evaluate yourself. I've already spoken about this. So a utility has been developed which will assess the firms to self-evaluate the firm. So it's an Excel utility. We have also done our evaluation on the basis of this, and we are working to improve our number by the time our next peer review comes up for, which is after a couple of years. If time permits, I will take you through this self-evaluation tool and how you will update it. So in the initial AQMM version 1.0, what was the requirement was that there were 3 sections: practice management operations, human resource management, and practice management strategic functions. First one had 280 points, second one had 240 points, and the last one is 80 points. And the lowest that you get in each of these practice unit rank was the rank of the firm. This met with a lot of I would say objections, or a lot of discussion was done whether this is the right method to do it. And therefore, after discussion, it was decided that the core of any audit practice is the practice management assurance. And therefore, almost 60 points was given to that. And now it is 370 out of 600, works out to around 61.67%. After that, human resource management. Just quality is not enough. You must have a good HR policy to attract quality talent and retain them. And that is the reason why HR is also equally important. We have given 150 points to HR functions. And any audit requires digital competency in this age when hardly anybody writes books of accounts. Most of the people are on computerized systems, and with audit trail, the ITGCFR, it is very important that the audit firms are digitally competent, and therefore we have assigned 80 points to digital competency. Unlike version 1.0, in version 2.0, you will score the total out of 600, and that will decide your audit quality rank or your score or your level, and not individually in each section, which was the case in version 1.0. For example, you could score 360 points out of practice, and you could score 100 out of human resource, and digital competency you may score 60. So your total score will be 360 plus 100, 460 plus 60, 520 upon 600. And depending upon the percentage, your level will be decided. But as we all know, in exams also, we have minimum 40% passing and we have overall 50%. Here also, in each section, you have to get a minimum of 30%. So you cannot have a hopeless HR, even though you have a 360 and expect to get a level 2 of 360 divided by 600. So you have to get minimum 30% in each of these sections, which means that you need minimum 45 marks in human resource and minimum 24 marks in digital competency. If you do not get 30% marks, or if you get just about 30% marks, you may end up in being level 1 firm only, because that is the core of your practice, that's the core of your quality. So as we move to the questions, you will realize that why that is important. So a level 1 firm is someone who has passed and got 30% minimum, and up to 50% is level 1 firm. Level 2 firm is from 50 to 70, level 3 firm is 70 to 85, and level 4 firm is from 85 to 100. Level 4 indicates a firm that has made significant adoption of standards and procedures and should focus on optimizing further. There is no satisfaction, there is no best. It's always you have to get better and better. Level 3 firm, the indicate firm has made substantial progress. We'll have to fine tune to reach the highest level of competency. And level firm is a very nascent firm. We'll have to take immediate steps to upgrade its competency, or will be left lagging behind. So these are the various level. And as I said at the beginning, each of us have to try to reach level 4. And our website should show maximum number of level 4 firms. That will ensure that we have quality across the various firms that we have in this country. Version 2.0 is applicable to a listed entity, banks and other cooperative, other than cooperative banks. Multi-state cooperative banks are included, and insurance company. Branch auditors don't have to do it's not mandatory for them to be covered under AQMM. However, those who want AQMM can always update themselves, and even though it is not mandatory for them, if it's subject to peer review, it will be displayed on their website. I am told that this list is being expanded to cover a couple of more type of entities, and very soon we should be hearing something on this, that the other entities who are doing other types of audit other than these three will also be required to follow AQMM 2.0. For peer review initiated on after 1st April, the review period will be from 1/4/22 to 31/3/25. And other than firms which have constituted during this period, for which the review shall commence from the date of constitution 31/3/25. Hence, AQM 2.0 is applicable to practices which submit Form 1 on or after 1st April 25. Practices may, however, adopt version 2.0 earlier also. But now that we are already in June 25, this last line is not relevant at this juncture. So we always have to follow only 2.0. So we now move to the first section, practice management assurance, and we'll go clause by clause to see what AQM requires and how you score the points, and how you're supposed to keep records for scoring the points, and how the peer reviewer will also come and examine these things. The first one is revenue from audit and assurance function. See, the more you do, the more perfection you get. And therefore, those firms whose revenue from audit and assurance functions are at a higher level get a higher score because it will be deemed that because they do quality work, they get more work. And that is the reason why they are being given more points. So based on the percentage of revenue from audit and assurance function, you will get scored. So if your revenue out of total revenue is less than 20, if you have no audit assurance function, then you will get 0 point because you have no experience at all. 0 to 20, you get 1 point. 20 to 40, you get 2 points. 40 to 63, 60 to 84, and 80 above, you get 5 points. So those who predominantly do audit work, their revenue from audit will be in excess of 75, 80, and they will get between 4 to 5 points. Does the firm have a forward-looking vision and mission statement? You get 2 points for having a forward-looking vision and mission statement. Many of us go to various hospitals, various entities, and we find what is called a vision and mission statement, which is put up on their boards or in their display area. We also have to do the same thing. However, care is to be taken that this vision and mission statement cannot find a place on our website. It is only for internal display. So you may put it up in your office, at various places in your office, so that your staff and people who visit your office can have a look at them. But this is not available as to be displayed on your website. So please take care that your vision mission statement cannot be on your website. So this is an example to show how the scoring is to be done. Tax audit, statutory audit, GST audit, transfer pricing audit, they all are assurance function. Certification is an assurance function. Management consultancy, tax return preparation, representative for tax audit, they are non-assurance function. So if your ratio of assurance to non-assurance function is determined very simply, this example explains everything. But for the sake of brevity, I will tell you that if your total revenue from assurance function is to be divided by the total revenue of your entire firm, and basis that your points will be scored. So if your total revenue is 4750 and your assurance function is 28440 as given in this example, you will be in the 59 to 79 and you'll get 3 points for this. And this has to be done on an average, which means that since your review period is for 3 years, the 3 years average will be taken, and on the basis of that, your points will be scored. It will not be based on the last year alone. This is another example for firm which have been there for the entire 3 year period. So each of the 3 year period you'll take the totals, divide the totals, and then you'll come and you will get your scoring. SQC, quality control, statement on quality control. We are now moving to SQM very soon. I think it's applicable from 1/4/26 onwards. But SQC is the crux of our quality. Everyone needs to have an SQC document in their office. And how to prepare an SQC document, please look at the IG. It gives you guidance, IG on SQC1. It gives you guidance as to how the SQC document is to prepare. So if your SQC document has these five points, where the leadership responsibility for quality within the firm is clear, ethical requirements are clear, acceptance and continuation of client relationship and specific engagements are clear, human resources clear, engagement performance clear, monitoring is clear, you have a policy on all of these things, you will get 12 points. You'll get 2 points for each of the 6 areas, and the maximum that you'll get is 12 points. This is very easy. You prepare an SQC document, go through the IG on SQC1 and accordingly prepare the SQC document. So far as the peer review is concerned, he's supposed to see whether the SQC document covers these 6 items. And if these 6 items are covered in the SQC document, the unit is eligible for 12 points. This SQC document should be periodically visited and maybe at least annually, and has to be updated in case updation is required. Now, the next important thing about the service delivery effort monitoring. Our budget versus actual analysis and effort spent across 20 assurance clients. So in the last one, the budget versus actual was taken for the entire gamut of the audit. So therefore, there was a lot of resistance to say that even a small audit where I'm just getting 20,000 rupees is very difficult for me to do budget versus actual. And therefore, after a lot of thought, it was decided that following the Pareto's principle, where 20% of the assignment would substantially cover the revenue of the firm. So the top 20 assurance assignment based on billing has to be covered for budgeted versus actual. This does not mean that you get points for overshooting budget or you lose points for overshooting budget or you have to be perfectly budgeting. All it means, you must have a budgeting process. You must assign that a particular assignment requires X number of man days, and your timesheet should monitor and tell how many man days were spent. You must do an analysis, keep a report which shows that I planned to have X number of man days. I actually spent Y number of man days, and the managing partner and the assurance head to have a noting to say that why or what it was done. If you are doing it for the entire 20 top assignments, you will get full 20 marks for this. So let me clarify, you do not lose marks for not achieving your budgets. All you have to do is maintain budgets to make sure that you have a process of monitoring your top 20 assignments. And how to determine this top 20 assignment is on the basis of billing for the client. So this is the example how you will determine the top 20 assignments. So if the billing amount rupees in lakhs only assurance assignments, you will find out who are your top 20 assignments. And on the basis of that, you will determine your top 20 assignments. You should have determined this top 20 assignments because you know who are your top clients. And these numbers are only for the purpose of the reviewer to come and determine that they fit into the top 20 clients or not. Basis that if you have maintained a monitoring exercise where you have decided a budget and your timesheets reflects the time spent on the assignments and you've got a report which shows budget versus actual, then you get 20 marks if you have done it for all the 20 assignments. If you've done it for the lesser number of assignments, you get the graded marks. In the earlier AQMM 1.0, the marks were never graded. They were actually they were actually yes or no. You get full mark if it's there, you get 0 mark if it's not there. But now in this 2.0, we have decided to have gradings, and accordingly, depending upon your level of compliances, you get marks. So if your level of compliances is optimum to the top, you get entire marks. If you have done 50%, you get 12 marks. If you have done 70%, you get 16 marks. So therefore, every one of us should try and achieve 100% if we can. If we do not, for the effort that we have done, we get graded points. The next issue is about advisory. Now, here, we do not want advisories. Our quality should not result in any advisory, right? And therefore, if we have received an advisory, it's a negative. And therefore, out of your total marks that you get for other services, these will entail negative marks and will go to reduce your total scoring. So if you have received an advisory by the QRB or CNAG, by the firm or any partner during the period, you get -5 for each such advisory, subject to a maximum of 25 points. If you've got 10 advisory, God forbid you should not get 10 advisory, but assume for a minute you get 10 advisories, then the maximum that you lose is not -50 but -25 because that's a maximum on the first stage of QRB and CNAG. The next question is about the FRRB and TAQRB. FRRB does what is called a soft review. Unlike a QRB or CAG who come and review your files, FRRB and TAQRB generally do a soft review of the financial statements. And on the basis of that, if an advisory has been sent to your firm, then you get -5 for each set advisory, subject to maximum -25. The next level of advisory or adverse noting is if your firm has been found guilty in PFO in case of reference to director discipline by either FRRB, TAQRB, PRB, QRB, CNAG, or any other government body other than NAFRA. If your matter has been referred, then for each such order, you get -10 points, subject to maximum -50. So if there is if a prima facie it has been found that you are guilty, then and a reference has been made to director the discipline, then for each such reference you get minus 10 points. We all dread NAFRA, and therefore NAFRA, who's evaluating listed companies and those in where there is public interest, the negative points are higher. So each such order you will get minus 50, subject to maximum minus 100. So if there are two orders against you, where there a firm has been either debarred, blacklisted, or there is some penalty levied on you, then you get minus 50 for each such order, up to maximum minus 100. So depending upon the type of the level of the issue, the points are also going up. If you see, the earlier two were only minus 5, reference to PFO was minus 10, NFRA is minus 50. And if the case of professional misconduct has been found and you are found guilty, then it is again minus 50 for every order, subject to minus 100. Now, it should not happen that I have got multiple negative points, which itself would show that we do not have quality. But the AQM has decided that the total negative points will be restricted to 25% of the total score before I levy the negative point. For example, if your total score is 400 and your total negative points considering all of this, say, let's, for example, minus 100 here, minus 100 here, 200, minus 50, 250, minus 25 and minus 25, 300. So you will end up with 100 points, right? That will not be the case. Your score will be restricted to 25% of 400. So you will lose only minus 100. The total of negative marks under each of these items will be restricted to 25% of the total score. So before I give effect to the negative points, I will compute my score, assume it's 400, and I've got 300 negative points. My negative points will be restricted to minus 100, which is 25% of 400, and therefore my score will be 300. So that is how overall capping of the negative points has been brought into in AQMM 2.0. We do not want any of these firms to be in this list. So we have to ensure that we maintain the highest quality and highest standard so that there is no negative scoring at all. So this gives an example as to how the scoring would be done. So total score is say 550, 430, 310, 220. If your negative scores are much more than that, it will be restricted to 25% only. To maintain quality, you need to have a library so that your people have access to information, access to matter, access to material, regulatory material, auditing material, accounting material. And therefore, if the firm has a library, either physical or digital or both, then it will get 8 points for having such a library. But please note that access to repository of ICI resources or outside material is not counted as having your own library. You are supposed to have your own library, which has to be within your server or your internal system. And just because you give them Google access to ICI resources, you will not get 8 points over here. Mere access to public available resources should not be considered maintenance of a library. You should have your own your own server inside your firm where people have access digitally, or you have a library full of all materials where you can take care of this, where your staff can access them and improve their quality and have a reference place also. You do not need a library room. You just need a bookshelf which has all these books. Client sensitization. Now, client sensitization is the next thing which is important. So where you are doing an audit and if you have a practice of informing the clients on the following 5 items, which is significant risk identified and auditing procedure planned and undertaken to address those risks, key changes related to accounting, auditing, reporting, other regulatory requirements impacting the client, key accounting and auditing matters which arose during the audit on which those were conducted, including monitoring and audit opinion, key audit matters, Significant judgments and estimates relied on its reliability of or otherwise. If you have a regular presentation or if you inform those charged with governance, for example, where you're doing a listed company or a large company, you have something called an SA 260, which is communicating with those charged with governance. Your presentation should cover these 5 items, and if your presentation covers these 5 items, you get 8 points for them. So please ensure that you regularly update your clients about key changes to auditing and where you're doing a larger, and this has to be done in the top 20 clients, where you're doing a larger audit. And if you don't attend to your top 20 clients, then whom are you going to attend? So this compliance also has to be in your top 20 clients. And therefore, you have to ensure that you inform them about the quality of work, the audit issues which have come up, the key audit matters, significant judgment that you relied upon. If they are part of your presentation or part of a letter that you address to them, you will get 8 points under this client sensitization. The practice unit has to have evidence that they have done this, and the peer reviewer has to verify that they have done this randomly out of the 20 top clients that has been identified by the practice unit. The code of ethics has restrictions on the maximum amount of fees that we can get from one client. There is a restriction of the maximum amount of fees, so because it is presumed that when I have over dependence on one client, the chances of my bias increasing is very high. And that is the reason why, where in a public interest entity, my fees from a particular client is more than 20%, or in a non-public interest entity, it is 40%, then I am required to inform institute as per the code of ethics, which has come into effect around 18 months back. So there is a format in which you have to inform the institute. And if you have informed the institute, you are compliant, no problem. But if you forget to inform the institute, or you are having 1 or 2 clients who are more than 20% of your total fees, then and you have not informed, you get minus 20 marks for not being compliant to the code of ethics. So this is also negative scoring. So it is expected that everybody is supposed to be compliant, and therefore no score for being compliant, but negative score for not being compliant. Institute has come up, has recommended fees, scale of fees. And this was there in AQMM 1.0 also. And therefore in AQMM 1.0, there was no graded scoring. There was no graded scoring. And therefore either you have to be 100% compliant to get full marks, or if you were not 100% compliant, you would lose marks, because AQMM 1.0 did not allow a graded scoring. In order to address that, pursuant to discussion, what has been decided that if up to 100%, but more than 95%, you are meeting the requirement. For example, you may have a few clients whom you do not charge the minimum fees as per this rule, then you will get 25 marks. If between 95 and 80 you are doing, you get 20 marks. 80 to 60, 15, 60 to 40, 10, and 40 to 20, 5 points. And if it's less than 20, you get 0 points. So if you are able to charge the minimum fees, because the idea behind the minimum fees is only if you get proper fees, you will do proper justice to the work. And if the fees do not justify the effort, there are very high chances that you may not put in the required amount of effort to ensure quality is maintained. And these minimum fees have been fixed on the basis of expectation of time spent for the purpose of quality. And therefore, adherence to them will ensure that there is some element of quality maintained. And the more you are compliant, the more score you get. UDINs. All of us know there is a 60 days period for UDINs, and most of the time we do because we may have backdated our signature, or we may have forgotten to take the unit, although we signed them on the relevant date. In order to ensure that I am compliant to take UDIN within a reasonable time, and reasonable time with lot of thought has been taken as 2 working days. So if you have taken your UDIN within 2 working days, then you are compliant. And depending upon the number of UDIN that you have taken within 2 working days, you get scored. So if you have achieved 100%, of your UDINs are taken within 2 working days, you get 30 points. This only goes to reflect that you are somebody who signs and takes the UDIN immediately, and you have not done any backdating. Generally, delayed UDINs indicate backdating, and more likely than not, it is assumed to be backdating. Okay. And that is the reason why Institute or AQM has decided that you must take UDIN within 2 days. And therefore, we have ensured that the more number of UDINs you take within 2 days, the more you score. So if you are 100% compliant, you get 30 points. 80 to 100, you have 25, 60 to 80, you have 20, and so on and so forth. Objective of introduction of this AQI is to encourage timely generation. UDIN, the holidays are defined by the firm. For example, if you're signed on Friday and Saturday, Sunday is your firm's holiday, you are a non-working Saturday, Sunday firm, then if you take the UDIN on Tuesday, you are compliant. Although it is 4 days later, you are compliant. So you have to take it within 2 working days. If you took it just before Diwali and you're closed for Diwali for 3 days as per your list of holidays, then after coming back from Diwali, if you have taken UDIN, then you are compliant, although it is after 4 days. So it has to be on the basis of number of working days. So how to maintain record of this? Very simple. UDIN portal has a download where the date of the report and the date of generating UDIN is there. Download them into Excel, find the gap between them, and find the total of such unit. Do a count of total of units that you have entered. Find the number of UDINs which have been taken within 2 days. Find the percentage, and that will ensure how much you will score over here. So it is possible that you have 10 partners. So each partner's UDIN generated, you download, put them into one Excel, find out the difference between document date and UDIN generation date. If it is less than 2, find the number of such instances to the total count, and that will decide your score. The more experience we have, the better is the quality, because ultimately experience is what is going to generate quality, because all of us have passed the same exams. What differentiates us is our experience. If I have done one audit of manufacturing company, it is easier for me to do the audit of the next manufacturing company. If I have done 2 NBFCs, it's easy for me to do the third NBFC. I know what exactly I have to check. So experience is what differentiates between us chartered accountants, because all of us have passed the same exams. What differentiates us? It's the experience. And therefore, we are giving score for those which has got a balanced experience firm. And therefore, the higher the experience, the higher the point. How do you determine this? You find out the number of years that each partner has spent. And here, what is important is who all qualify for experience. So, I am a partner in this firm from 35 years. Then I will my score against my name we put 35 years. There was an employee who was with my firm, and I made him or her a partner after 5 years of this thing, and now she's a partner from 2 years. In that case, also we give them we count the experience as an employee, provided that there's a maximum of 3 years in that case. However, if there was an employee in another firm and I took them into my firm and made them a partner on day 1, the experience as a partner will be only 1 year or less than 1 year, because the experience in another firm as an employee is not to be counted. Why we count only in our own firm? Because they know exactly our processes and our procedures, and therefore they are as good as a partner with 3 years experience. Similarly, if I am a partner with 35 years and I move to another firm, the firm should get the benefit of my experience, because my experience as 35 years of partner is available to the other firm also. Therefore, lateral shift of partners is counted for experience. Lateral shift of employee is not counted for experience. Employee experience within the firm is counted subject to a maximum of 3 years, and basis that you find out what is your average, And accordingly, you get, if you have more than 10 years experience average, then you get 8 points. 7 to 10 years, 6 points, 5 to 7 years, 4 points. So the nascent the firm is, the lesser the points that they get. The next point is about whistleblower policy. Does your firm have a whistleblower policy? Do you encourage people to come up and say that Mr. X, Mr. Y, Miss X, Miss Y has not done the work properly? Allow them to have complaint and issue a whistle. Okay. If you have such a policy, you get 4 points. If you do not have such a policy, you get 0 points. The idea behind having such a whistleblower policy is that since there's a whistleblower policy, there are chances of anybody crossing the Lakshman Rekha is lesser. And that is the reason why whistleblower policy is important. If there is a Lakshman Rekha and there is somebody watching the Lakshman Rekha, all of us know that if the policeman is standing at the signal, there are very high chances that we are not going to break the signal. And where we find in the night there is nobody around, we end up and we are tempted to break the signal, right? And therefore, the whistleblower policy is kind of a check on us to know that there could be somebody who's watching and going to complain about us. And this will ensure that we do our quality properly. And that is why whistleblower policy is part of my AQMM quality maturity model. So this is an example as to how the experience should be counted. And I've already explained to you, experience of an employee becoming a partner is there, but only assurance partner is to be counted. And how do you determine assurance partner? He should have issued at least some UDIs for the purposes of this thing. So for the purpose of this section, assurance partner is a partner who generated at least one UDI in respect of listed entity or 5 UDIs in aggregate in any financial year under review. So if he issued one UDIN for a listed entity or issued 5 UDINs in aggregate, he or she will be counted as an assurance partner. And basis that, if your average age is more than 10, you get 8 points. Number of branches. The higher the number of branches you have, the more access to resources you have, the more access to quality you have, the more access to cross referrals you have, and the greater the chances of maintaining quality. And that is the reason why the more number of branches, you get more points. So if you have up to 3 branches, you get 3 points. 4 to 7 branches, you get 6 points. 8 to 15 branches, you get 9 points. More than 15 branches, you get 12 points. If you have only one office, you do not score over here. So that one office is not going to be counted as up to 3. No marks are there for the head office. So if I have only one office from where I operate, then I get 0 under this score. Mr. Purushottam told us that in CAG considers and gives us 25 marks for the purposes of peer reviewed firm, up to maximum 25 marks. Correct? So here also we brought in peer review. So if you are peer reviewed for up to 3 cycles, you get 6 points, 2 points for each peer review cycle. So if you are a firm who has done more than 3 cycles, then your maximum score is 6 points. But if you've gone through 1 cycle, you get 2 points. 2 cycles, you get 4 points. 3 and more, you get 6 points. So this will ensure that the more the number of cycles you have gone through, the better the quality, because peer review is a process by which the peer reviewer comes and looks at your documentation, looks at your processes, and determines whether they are compliant, and basis that you are issued a peer review certificate. And the more number of times that you have gone through, it is presumed, there's a rebuttable presumption that you have reasonable good quality. And that is the reason why you get score over here. Friends, this is the heart of scoring. This is what is called the maximum scoring section of this section. You get 230 points for having format checklists and templates. Okay. And if you do not have format checklists and templates, you can forget scoring in AQMM. You will not get 30% also, because out of 370, 230 points are only for format checklist and scoring. What are these formats and how do you score? I'll show you in the next slide. AQMM has decided that there are some mandatory formats and there are some additional formats. you have to have the mandatory formats, and you may have developed some more of your own formats for which also we will give you points. And that is explained in the following slide. These are around 12, 24, 36, 41, 40 mandatory formats. And the 41st item is you can have your own formats. So for each of these formats, you must have, you are given 1 mark for presence and 2 marks for implementation. Now this implementation has to be there in your top 20 clients. See, these top 20 clients are the bucket which has to be checked up. Now, a caution to peer reviewer: the peer review list, which the secretary peer review told that one sample from each type of audit will be taken, and at least one audit of one signing partner will be taken. That is a different list. This is a different list. There could be some common files in both of these lists, but these are two distinct lists, and the review has to be done separately for each of these separate lists. The first list is for peer review. The second list is for AQM compliances. The first list covers the whole gamut. It covers smaller audits also. It covers varied audits also. It covers certificates also. The second list concentrates, which is for AQM, concentrates on my top 20 clients, where I'm required to deliver quality. So therefore, please, we don't get confused that the two lists are common. They are two separate lists. The AQMM list is separate, which is based on the top 20 billing of assurance clients. And the peer review is separate, which is picking up samples from various types of audits, from various class of audits, including smaller audits, to make sure that your quality is uniform across the board. And the peer review is expected to go through all these documents across different types of engagements that you have done. On these 20 audits, if you have a client acceptance format, you get 1 point. And if you implemented them for all the 20, you get 2 points. Here, there is no graded point. If you do not do it for 5 clients or 2 clients or 1 client, you get 0. Please note, that is what the IG says. You have to do this for all the 20 clients. Only then you get 2 points. Engagement acceptance continuation for all 20 clients you need to have. Independent confirmation for all 20 clients you must have. Confidential undertaking for all 20 clients you must have. Engagement letter for all 20 clients you must have. If you do not have it, even for 1 or 2 or 3 of them, you will not get graded score. You will get 0 for implementation. But since you have a format in your documentation, you will get 1 score. Okay. So please make sure that this is taken care in the top 20 clients of your list, which has been determined on the principle which was shown in the earlier slides, how to determine top 20 assurance clients. So these are 12 formats which you need to have. Most of these formats are available in the ICAI repository. If you just Google and find out formats, there's a booklet which gives you in Word and in Excel. You can download them. Basis that, create your own formats, put your name on the firm, and have this repository in your library so that every employee of yours, every engagement team member has access to these formats which he has to update. Presence will give you 1 point, implementation will give you 2 points or 5 points as the case may be. So these are the various formats: materiality, testing strategy, team planning meeting, and substantive audit procedure adopted for each balance sheet item. So there is a booklet which Institute has got for various audit formats. And if you download that and cull out your formats from there, most of these formats are available on ICAI's repository. If you look at the IG tells you where exactly these formats are available. Apart from these formats, you may have developed some formats which are very useful to you. And if you have them, then for each such format, you'll get 1 point for having a format and 2 points for implementing that format. So that is another 30 points, which you can get. So the total comes to 215. So if you go through the IG, these 40 formats are mandatory for you to get 185 points and you have to implement in all the top 20 clients. Peer reviewer, please note, if this is not implemented even in one or two of the samples that you pick up, you are entitled to reject them. You are entitled to reject and give them 0 points for this. Not only must you have format, you must also be updating them regularly, at least annually once. And if you have applied it, see, you should have a document to show that you've applied your mind. Modification may not be necessary, but application of mind, whether modification necessary or not, is what is going to give you 15 points. So you must have a document which says that I have reviewed all the formats, and because there is no change in regulation, none of these formats need any change. None of these formats need any change out of any experiential usage of these formats. You will get 15 points. So that the total is 230 points. This is the heart of scoring of the first section. And if this scoring is done, then and you get reasonably good score over here, you are home and dry so far as the first section is concerned. Therefore, every preparer has to ensure that he has these formats in his repository and his team is updating them for the top 20 clients. You may have 100 clients, but you have to do it only for top 20 clients. Top 20 clients based on billing for assurance services. So that was so far as the first section is concerned. The total of first section comes to around 370 points. And if you use the tool, you will come to know how much you scored in each of these points. Begin with being truthful to yourself. There is the remark column for you to write your justification to give your score, which can also be checked up by the peer reviewer. The next section is about human resources. Human resources are equally important to maintain quality because unless I have a proper working environment, I will not be able to attract quality, and ultimately quality is of the team and not of the individual, right? What is required is the team has to be of quality. We all know what happens in cricket. Just one Virat Kohli or Sachin Tendulkar cannot win the match. The whole team has to perform for us to win the match. Therefore, each member of the team has to be of a top quality to ensure the ultimate result is of a higher quality. And that is the reason why human resource management is important. Now, what are the human resource management which entitles you to scores? The first one is whether you have a clearly defined role for your non-audit functions, which is accounts, admin, and IT. You must have a role function, clearly define the roles of these three people. And if you have such a function, then you get 3 points for that. The next is whether you have a documented leave policy. Is your leave left to the managing partner's mood, or has every employee an access to a documented leave policy? He knows that what is the leave policy, how much leave he is entitled to, and how will he. Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry. So if you have a documented leave policy, you get 4 points. If you do not have a documented leave policy, you get 0 points. So your internal server should have office policies where you must have a documented leave policy. How many leave does an employee entitled to? If he takes a sick leave, does he require a certificate? Can he take, what is the procedure, etc., etc. So if you have a documented leave policy, you get 4 points. Issuance of appointment letter to all the employees. This is also equally important because your appointment letter should mention what is your notice period, what is expected out of you. And if these policies are there, if you have issued appointment letters, you get 4 points for all your key people. Article clerks may not be required to be issued an appointment letter because they're anyway covered by a contract by the institute. But every other employee who's in the assurance function needs an appointment letter for you to score 4 points over here. You may not issue an appointment letter to your peon or to your receptionist, but it is expected you issue appointment letters to all the assurance function people who are there in the office. Does the firm conduct an exit interviews for employees leaving the organization? If you have a policy for exit interviews, you get 4 points. If you do not have, you score 0 points. Does the firm orient new joiners, including partners, regarding its policy procedures? So do you have an orientation plan? For example, you take new articles. Do you directly put them into the swimming pool, or do you teach them safety norms? Do you teach them other norms? So therefore, do you teach them your policy, procedures, your practices? And is there a document to evidence that you have done such a thing? If yes, then you get 4 points. Otherwise, you get 0 points over here. The next point is about, is there a procedure for the clients to register their complaints? If you have a procedure, you get 1 point. And if you have a speedy disposal of those complaints, you get 1 more point. And if you do not have any of these mechanisms, you get 0 points. So you must have a procedure for clients to come and complain about your staff, to your managing partner, about some other partner, about their reasonableness, unreasonableness, and how you have disposed them of. Depending on that, you get between 0 to 2 points. Does the firm employ adequately professional qualified employees? I already told you that one Sachin Tendulkar or one Dhoni cannot win the match. We need a balanced team. And that is what is going to make us win the match, whether it's football, cricket, or even audit. And therefore, the more the number of qualified people I have, the more I score. For example, this in 2.2i, you get score for number of qualified employees per partner. For example, if you have 5 partners and you have 5 qualified chartered accountants, then your score is more than 0 but less than 3, so you get 1 point for that. But if your firm has 5 partners but no qualified employees, you will get 0 because you do not have access to qualified employees other than partners. So this is the ratio of qualified employees to partner proprietor on the last day of each financial year for period under review. So for each year, you get, so the total score is 3 points, 1 point for 1 year, and total score is 3 points. So if you have 5 employees in 1 year, but 0 employees in next 2 years, then you will get only 1 point. You will not get 3 points. The next point is whether apart from just qualified employees, do you have other team members also? Whether you have semi-qualified, you have non-qualified, you have article clerks, etc. There the ratio is slightly higher. So if you have 5 partners and you have 14 such employees, you get 0 points because it is presumed that for each employee, you must have at least 3 persons. So if you are 5 partners, you must have at least 15 people for you to score points over here. And if you have 25 people, then you score 6 points. If you have 15 to 25, you score 3 points. So therefore, the more varied your team size, the more score you have over here. So that is why the bigger the team, the better the scoring. So this is an example which tells you how the scoring is done, how the semi-qualifiers are taken into consideration for 2.2 and how they all are taken into consideration for 2.22. For example, the CA final BCom article assistant are all taken for the 2.2 where the scoring is more than 3, less than 5. And here more than 0, less than 3 is taken over here. So therefore, the two of them are different. One is for qualified and one is for non-qualified. In 2.22, even the qualified will be counted for this purpose of scoring. So just see 2.22 covers. So your chartered plus your article plus your semi-qualified plus your BCom will be counted plus your support functions, including your typist and reception will be counted for the purposes of giving the score in 2.2 small 2. And for 2.2 small 1, only qualified will be counted. So you may have a company secretary in your role, you may have a cost account in your role. They will also be counted for the purpose of qualification over here. So depending upon the number of score you have, you take the average, and on the basis of the average, you get your AQMM score. So this is how the average should be computed for both 2.2i and 2.22i's. Any quality is achieved by training. Training is utmost importance for us to achieve quality unless we are trained, and that is the reason why we have what is called a continuing professional education, which is mandatory up to 20 hours. Why? Because each one of us have to be up to date with the changing regulations, the changing environment. And therefore, training is equally important. And you must have a training policy where partners and proprietors have at least 30 hours. These 30 hours would mean 20 hours of CPE plus 10 hours of non-CPE, or you may have 30 hours of CPE. It is more than what CPE is required because CPE only talks of 20 hours of mandatory, but we have become a little more stringent. We want 30 hours for the partners. Professionally qualified also, we want 30 hours. Since we are qualified and we have passed an exam and we are a chartered accountant, our training requirement is expected to be lesser than of a person who has not passed. And that is why an article assistant, a support staff, article assistant, a semi-qualified is required to have higher number of training hours, which is 45 hours. So if I have a policy where I require minimum number of training hours, then I will get score on the basis of having such a policy, which is up to 6 points, 2 marks for each category. Just having a policy is not adequate. I must implement it also. And therefore, based on the number of people who have achieved the training, if less than 50 people have not covered the training requirement, then you get 0 point. 50 to 75, I get 1 point, and more than 75, I get 2 points for each year. And for 3 years, it will be 6 points. So you cannot just get score by doing training 1 year. It has to be a continuous program. That is, for each of the years, you can get a maximum of 2 points, and total you will get 6 points for the 3 year of review period that you have. The first one is for partners and proprietors, second is for qualified employees, and the third one is for the article assistants. The scoring is more because partners and employees, the scoring is kept less because there is some mandate of CPE, and therefore that itself will ensure that you are forced by another regulation to do it, and therefore you are getting lesser points for being compliant here. But for an employee, CPE is not mandatory, and therefore if they do 30 hours, that means you have a system of ensuring quality, and therefore you get more points. You get up to 4 points for each year, and for 3 years you get 12. And for semi-qualified and article clerks, there is no regulation for that training. If you implement training, the quality of your junior staff will also be good, and you should score in AQMM. You get 18 points for that. So for having a training policy and for implementing the training policy, you get 30 plus 12, 42 marks. So training is very important. And friends, those who are attending this webinar where you are an implementer of AQMM, please ensure that you have a proper training policy, you have proper records for training, because you can get up to 42 marks for having record of training and doing the training. So this is what is the example as to how you'll score, how each of you will do it. And based on the number of people who have done it, you will get 3 points, 6 points, and 6 points. So this is the example which shows how the scoring is to be done. It's been prepared by the CAQD, and it covers the principles behind scoring. And if one goes through this, you will come to know how the scoring is to be done. As I've explained to you, not only must you have a policy, you must also implement it each year, and you'll get 2, 4, 6 for each of the years. If you do it for all the 3 years, you will get 6, 12, and 18 marks. And that's a huge amount in ensuring that you score well, because training is the crux of quality. The next point is does the firm have a policy and mechanism of appraisal of its employees? So every policy, every firm has an appraisal mechanism. And if you do not have such an appraisal mechanism, then you do not get any points. But if you have an appraisal mechanism, for presence of appraisal mechanism, you have 3 points. For having set standards for recruiting employees, you get 3 points. And for implementation of the appraisal mechanism, you get 4 points. So therefore, The firm must have an appraisal mechanism because you will be able to retain talent only if you have an appraisal mechanism and you have a promotion mechanism which is transparent and people know that it is not left to the managing partner or senior partner whims and fancies. There's a methodology for the people to be appraised, and having such a policy and implementing such a policy will give you up to 10 paths. Does the firm measure and monitor the employee turnover ratio and identify the reason for the high turnover? So today we all are struggling with retaining staff. And if your people are leaving you, have you done a mechanism to measure and monitor how many people have left you as a percentage? And what steps are you taking to implement them? For example, if based on the exit interviews, you find that people have left you because of salaries, then basis that exercise, you have increased the salary for the chartered accountants or semi-qualified, then it would mean that you have a policy to identify the employee ratio and you've also taken measures to minimize the turnover ratio, in which case you will get 8 points. For measuring and monitoring employee turnover 5, and for taking measures to minimize the turnover ratio 3. But if you have a policy but you haven't changed your salaries because you are rigid about it, then what are you doing to retain them? Then for having the policy and monitoring, you'll get 5 points. But to minimize the turnover ratio, you will not get any points. So therefore, not only must you monitor and measure the employee turnover, you must also take steps which has to be demonstrable to minimize the turnover ratio. We audit compliance of our auditees. We must also be compliant. Therefore, it is presumed that every firm is compliant. And if any firm is not compliant, then he gets negative points. Negative points for each of these points, for each of these matters. If you have more than 20 employees and you do not have a PF, you get -1. If you have employees who are covered by ESI and you do not have a policy, then you get -1. If you do not have a gratuity policy, then you get -1. If you do not give maternity leaves to your female employees, then you get -1. If you do not have POSH rules, you've not created a POSH committee for safety of your women employees, women team members, then you get -1 point. And in any other law which is applicable to shop and establishment, you're violating the rules, then you get -1. So you get -1 for each of these non-compliance, subject to a maximum of -5. So this again will go to reduce your score, overall score, if you're not compliant. No score for being compliant because it is expected that we have to be compliant. We'll only be penalized for not being compliant. Camaraderie is very important to maintain quality and to maintain bondage between the employees and team members. A well-bonded team works well. And therefore, do you have a policy to celebrate occasions like festivals? You have a Diwali party, you have a New Year party, you have an annual get-together. If you have such a policy and you have implemented them, then you get 3 points. If you do not take them out for lunch, dinner, you don't have an annual get-together, then you get 0 points for it. Do you have a mechanism to listen to employees? Do you have a suggestion box in your office where people can write their suggestions? If you have such a thing, you get 4 points. If you do not have, you do not get any points. See, for many of these are simple steps to be taken in an organization. And if you take these simple steps and put it in place, you can easily score marks in AQMM. All you need to do is to have a policy and to implement it also. You must have a suggestion box where people should be entitled to put suggestion box, and you should open that box and keep a record of what did you do with those suggestions. Otherwise, just by having a box which is not open for 3 years will not give you points. Are the employees of the firm compensated as per the defined approach? Generally, yes, because if you do not compensate as per defined approach, they will leave the job and go. And therefore, if you have a proper mechanism where you have a first year you get X, second year you get in Y, third year you get Z, then you would get 6 points over here. Just give me a short break. Just drink some water, please. So we were on this page where we have proper defined approach for compensation of the employees. The next step is whether you have a system where you encourage your employees to do further certification course. For example, doing any diploma. Do you encourage your people to do DISA? Do you encourage them to do certificate course conducted by ICI? Maybe on INDEAS, maybe on forensic audit, maybe on CSR, or whatever is the thing. If you have a policy, you get 4 points for that. And just by having a policy, it is not adequate. The biggest score comes from implementing the policy. So where you have a policy and you're implementing them, then you get score based on the number of people who have used this policy and how it has been implemented. If up to 10% of your employees have chosen and are doing this course in each year, you get 2 points. 10 to 25%, 4 points, 25 to 50%, 6 points, and more than 50%, 8 points. So if more than 50% of your employees have chosen and pursued further course during the year, then you get 8 points
Vacation.
for each year. So
And then
please note that in a period of 3 years, this policy has to be applied each year. You cannot have that in 3 years only one more than 50%, 8 points. So if more than 50% of your employees have chosen and pursued further course, you not get 24 points. For each year, this policy has to be implemented. That people have to keep doing new courses. It is not necessary they have to pass to score over here. They should be doing the course over here. It is not necessary that they have to pass. Only pursuing the additional course will qualify you to get score over here. It is not necessary that they have to pass. So this is an example which shows total employees are 10 in the first year. Total employees pursuing additional qualification stated in 2.51 is 5. Employees joining the firm during 21-22 was 1. Employee with less than 1. So basis this, if your percent of people who have done is 30, AQM score is 6 for that year. Next year is 6, and last year you get 8 because you have done 25 to 50% and more than 50% in the last year. So therefore, you get 20 points for the total for implementing this thing, plus 4 points for having such a policy. So just look at this example. These examples have been articulated and curated by the CAQD, and this is also there in the IG. So if you look at the IG and if you look at this presentation, both of these will show you as to how this scoring has to be done. Preparers have to keep record of this. Reviewers have to look at this. So this AQMM is an exercise which is not going to be easy. The preparers have to prepare documents to justify their scoring, and the reviewers have to evaluate the justification and give them score if they're satisfied. Does the firm have written KPIs for performance evaluation of the employees and partners? If yes, you get 4 points. Does it have specific determined method for evaluation? Do you have specific parameters? Then you get 4. For having a policy, you have 4. For having parameters which are specific, you have 4. For a decided frequency, you have 4. And for following them, you have 4. And even if engagement partners are covered by them, then you get another 4. So totally, you can get 16 points for having KPIs to evaluate the performance right from employees to partners. So this is so far as the HR functions are concerned. As I said, HR functions are necessary to ensure that you have quality team members available to you. If you do not have many of these procedures, people may not be interested in joining you, and therefore you will not be able to maintain quality. And therefore, having HR activities are also necessary to determine the quality of the firm. The last aspect is digital competency. As I said in the initial stages, most of our clients today have accounting software, right from Tally to maybe an SAP. And therefore, we have to be digitally competent to be able to do audit of them. And this next few slides will determine whether you have the competency for the purposes of determining and scoring in AQMM. What are those parameters? Does the firm have a registered domain name? Which means is that do you have a domain name? Do you have, for example, we have nvc.in, it's the name of my firm. Maybe somebody else has got xyz.in, xyz.com. If you have a registered domain name, you get 1 point. Does the firm have a registered website, and is the website updated on a regular basis? So you may have a domain name, but you may not have a website. So domain name could be the basis on which your email is finalized. A website is where people can access and look at your firm. And therefore, it is necessary. You score 1 mark for having a registered domain name, and you get 2 marks for having a registered website. Please ensure in your zeal to get 2 marks, do not violate the website rules. Make sure that whatever is permitted as per the website rules is only followed. It is there in the code of ethics, what are permitted, what are not permitted. In your zeal to get 2 points, do not violate the website rules. As I said in the initial stages, the mission vision statement cannot be on your website because it becomes like a advertising product. So be very careful about what is permitted, do's and don'ts, and accordingly have a proper website. Does the firm have a corporate mail ID? Just like a domain name, does it have a corporate mail ID? And is it available to all the staff, including article clerks? You get one, for example, if a firm has only Gmail ID, you do not score over here. Because if you have only a Gmail ID, you will not score in the first point also, you will not score in the second point also, you will not score in the third point also. So therefore, you must have a corporate mail ID. If it is available to all the staff, you get 1 more point. If it's available to all the article clerks, you get 1 more point. So you can get up to 3 points for having a corporate email ID, which is accessible to all the people, including an article clerk. Because even when an article clerk requests for information from a client, when he sends an email from your corporate ID, it brings about more credibility to the request, and the client will be more comfortable giving the information to him across the soft copies. Because today, after COVID, we all have realized that we can do a lot of work is done offline. It's not necessary to physically visit. A lot of data is sent across the web, and a lot of data is uploaded on a common cloud from where you can access the data. And therefore, when these requests come from a corporate email ID, it brings about more credibility to the request, and clients will be more comfortable. And therefore, it is necessary that if for you to score and to show that you have a good quality, it is necessary for you to have a corporate email ID. Does the firm have a social media presence? If yes, social media presence, I think, is LinkedIn for this purposes. If you have a LinkedIn presence, you get 1 point. For having a minimum 1 post, you get 1 point. But be very careful. You do not do any advertising on the social media, because that can create more complication than getting 2 points. So be very careful about what is permitted in the social media presence, and accordingly decide what you want to do in order to score your 2 points. Is there a biometric IP address tracking or other mechanism? So this is important for us to know whether our team member is reaching the audit client and then telling he's present, or he's sitting somewhere in a Starbucks and telling that I'm working on the client's place. So biometric or an IP address will decide whether you have a good quality to track the presence of your staff. If you have such a methodology to track their address, then you get 1 point. Otherwise, you do not get a point. Other HR tools available for interview management, performance management. If you have HR tools for having interviews and performance management, then you get 1 point. Do article and employees fill out timesheet regularly? 1 point. See, if you do not fill out timesheet regularly, how will you get score for the monitoring, which we spoke in the first section? Therefore, these are complementary. If you have a monitoring mechanism where you have kept timesheets on the basis of which you decide how much time has been spent for the budgeted versus actual, automatically you score 1 point over here also. If you do not have it over there, you cannot score 1 point over here. Now, just timesheets are filed, but my partners are so busy, HR is so busy, they don't even look at what has been filled, whether it's scrap or what it is, then you get 0 points. But if somebody is verifying these timesheets or partner is verifying this timesheet, then you get 1 point for it. Our timesheet correlated with attendance to verify for any deviations. If the timesheet and the biometric attendance are mapped, then you get 1 point. Otherwise, you get 0 points. Our internal workflow and documentation managed on a digital workflow management system. And are there any digitized workflow tools? If you have a workflow tool, you get 1 point. If you have some software which tells you how to do the audit, you get 1 point. If there is a centralized file storage server, either on the cloud or in your premise, you get 2 points. If everybody's data is on or is on their own server, on their own laptop, then in case of a regulatory approach, difficult to access the data, and therefore a good quality firm needs to have central repository of data, and therefore having a centralized file storage system server will ensure that you get 2 points over here. Please note that all of these points indicate to the quality and maturity of the firm. The audit quality comes from the first section, maturity comes from the second and third section. So therefore, the entire process is called audit quality maturity model. And it is very important that each of these aspects are looked at seriously and attended to for the firm, for the CAQ portal or the PRV portal to a maximum number of level 4 firms. The more the level 4 firms, the more it is indicative of the quality of our profession. Are all the files being uploaded on the server? You may have a server, but people don't upload. What's the point? You don't achieve. So therefore, you get 2 points for having a system by which these employees regularly update the files on the server so that it's available in a central repository for access later on. Supposing an employee leaves and goes, and after 3 years there's an issue, the employee is not uploaded on the server. What do you do? Where is the file? Where is the audit documentation? So therefore, having a system by which these employees and team members are expected to upload the data on the server regularly is very important for ensuring documentation quality and for ensuring maturity of the firm. I have a server, but I don't do backups. In ITGCFR audits that we do, we check whether backups are taken by the client regularly or not. They are offsite, they are not offsite. What are we doing? If we charity begins at home. If we are going to audit somebody else, we must also implement those systems in our office. Therefore, you must have a system by which the backup is done on a system or a server, preferably in a remote location, if not at least in the same location. Preferable to remote location, but at least in the same location. Our documents of clients' services stored electronically, digitally. If you only have hard copy, you don't have soft copies, you get 0 points per year. But if you have a system by which you store all the data electronically, more likely than not, most of these people will score over here, because today nobody makes manual balance sheets. Nobody makes manual balance sheets, and therefore, more likely than not, we will have electronic records, and most of our people should score 2 points over here. Is there an application available for invoicing receivable management? To show maturity, if you write handwritten invoices to your client, it doesn't show a quality or maturity. Therefore, having an application available for invoicing receivable management, and if the receivable management gives periodic outstanding for you to collect the fees, one of the things in the code of ethics is that before you sign the next set of fees, if the fees of the year is not received, then there are very chances that your opinion may be biased in order to ensure the past fees are recovered. And therefore, the code of ethics asks you to ensure that your fees of the previous engagement is received before you start and sign the next year's engagement. And therefore, if you have a system by which you find out these outstanding balances on a periodic basis, you can take steps to recover fees, because ultimately we all are doing work to recover money and to make money, apart from giving quality. And therefore, your system should be able to give you outstanding balance on a periodic basis. Is all the data being uploaded on a server on a daily or periodic basis? This was already there earlier also, but this again comes here to make sure that on a periodic basis, all the data uploaded on the server. Is a backup stored in multiple locations? I told you preferable in one location, multiple locations will give you additional 1 point. The backup should also be automated. Every day at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, morning, lunchtime, it should back up so that nobody can forget. It's an automated system and there are enough tools available for automating this. Are there multiple connection available in case of connectivity issues in one connection? You get, if you have two internet service providers in your office, you get 1 point. If you have only one, you get 0 point. Because if one is down today internet is a backbone. Today we may get tea coffee. I mean, we may work without tea coffee, but we cannot work without an internet connection because most of us are wired. Most of the data is checked simultaneously, and it is necessary that all of us have connectivity, and therefore you get 1 point if you have more than one connectivity in your office, so that if one is down, the other is available. Are the laptops secure to drive encryption? If yes, you get 1 point. Do you give laptop to all your employees and article for their official use? If yes, you get 1 point. Are all the systems secure through antivirus? See, having a laptop and not having antivirus security can be dangerous because you may access the client's data and you may pass on the virus, or you may get virus on the client's information because client may not be secure and your systems can get corrupted. Therefore, having a system with antivirus gives you 1 point. If not, then you get 0 points. There is something called just like there's an AQMM, there is a DCMM also, digital company maturity model, and most of these points are taken from there, which are relevant to an audit pattern. That is a more detailed DCMM. DCMM is not mandatory; it is recommendatory. So many of these questions have been picked up from there, and therefore one can also look at the DCMM maturity by trying to implement DCM maturity model also, which is not mandatory. Are your system updated with the latest security definition? You may have an antivirus, but if you don't update them regularly, because every day there are millions of viruses which are being created, and these antivirus systems all have a patch which gets updated every day to ensure that new viruses, which when detected, there is a solution or a vaccine against. A critical communication digitally secured, either through digital signature or password. If yes, you get 1 point. Is the access to internet restricted on need-only basis and use of data card? For example, many of them have an access which is password encrypted or need-only basis. For example, server location should not be available to all the employees, should only be available to those who are working on that particular client's information. Microsoft Teams allows you to have SharePoint data where you can have client-wise information. And therefore, you can ensure you have to take care to ensure that you have given need to know basis access. If you have such a policy, you get 1 point. Bring your own device policy. If you have a policy, you get 1 point. And for having endpoints active on these devices, you get 1 point. If you allow people to bring their own devices, you get 1 point. If you do not allow them to bring their own devices, you get 0 point. But having allowed them to bring their own devices, if you allow them to keep it in one place, you get, if you have encrypted them or ensured that you have put antivirus in them, you get 1 point.
The next thing is about IT policy for the firm and policy being read and acknowledged by all. The firm should have an IT policy. When we go to do audit of ITGCFR, we ask whether you have an IT policy. What is the password change policy? Is there a password policy? Does the e-password need to be changed on a periodic basis? If yes, these all are good controls indicating better quality and better maturity, and therefore entitling you to a higher score. Copyright and licenses. Are all software being used appropriately licensed? Please note, you're making a presentation to a client, and at that point of time, it comes on the presentation that this is not a licensed version. How embarrassing that can be. And that's the reason why we encourage people to have licensed software, so that all our people use only licensed software and we don't use pirated software. Is there a list of license along with an expiry date? If you have a register, just like we ask Is there an intangible asset register? Is there a tangible asset register? If you have an asset register which has the list of all the licenses with the expiry date, then you get 1 point for that. Is an internal employee portal available? As I said, you may have a server where you post all your employee rules, regulation, exit policies, every suggestion boxes, etc. If there is such a policy, then you get 1 point. If you do not have an internal portal, then you get 0 points. Is the portal accessible from outside the office? Do I have to be in office to access it, or can I sit at home also and access the employee portal? If yes, then I get 1 point. If no, I get 0 point. Is all data content related to a firm's audit program, checklist and all available and updated on a real-time basis? So we had seen in front also that you must have your own internal library, which has got not only regulatory and reference material, but also your various checklists, for which you get 230 points. These checklists should be available on your firm's portal and or your server, which is accessible by all team members. If yes, you get 1 point. If no, not only you get 0 points here, you may not get points in the other place also, because how will you demonstrate that you have those 40 checklists with you? Is there access to the portal through a login ID and password? If you have a login ID password access to the portal, then you get 1 point. If it is unrestricted access, you get 0 point, which is not safe. I think every firm should ensure that at least they score 1 point on this account. Is all employee-related personal HR data in an electronic form secured from unauthorized access? See, people's salaries are a very, very crucial point, and they should not be available to everybody, and they should be in a controlled environment. If yes, you get 1 point. If no, you get 0 point. Are social media background checks done before recruiting? If you do social media background, you get 1 point. If you don't do, you get 0 point. Are the employees formally trained on how to identify authenticity of the source while searching for content? If yes, 1. If no, 0. Are employees, including articles, sensitized on due care to be taken relating to sharing data? So when you share data, especially confidential data, the article clerk or the senior should be trained to send on need to know basis. Certain crucial data cannot be sent to every employee. For example, financial statements after review cannot be sent to every employee. It should be sent to only to the head of accounts who is responsible for preparing the financial statements. If you have trained your people to take adequate care and you sensitize them that don't send crucial data to anyone and everyone, don't broadcast the list, even in your own office also, an article or an employee who's not on an engagement is not privy to the financial statement of a particular client, although it belongs to the firm, because it is all need to know basis. Does the firm have a term of usage policy for usage of data and assets under their control? If you have a policy as to, for example, we have a policy that you cannot load personal material. We don't want you to load any movies, etc. on the laptops that we give to you. So if that is the policy you have, you get 1 point. If you do not have a policy, you get 0 point. Has the firm classified data into sensitive and non-sensitive data? Every client data is sensitive and every reference material is non-sensitive. So if you have classified data into sensitive and non-sensitive data, then you get 1 point. Otherwise, you get 0 point. Do you have a process by which you do IT Secretary General Control Review, what is called the ITGCFR reviews? If you have a policy, you get 1 point, which also shows that not only are you digitally competent in-house, but also you know how to check others' digital competency. You get 1 point for that. Are there any application security and vulnerability audits done? If you do, you get 1 point. These are more complicated ones, and unless you have a large listed company, you may not be doing vulnerability audit tests. So if you have a large listed company, you may take the help of external professionals to do the vulnerability test at the client's audit place. If you have done such a thing, you get 1 point. Has the firm obtained any external certification like ISO 27001, ISO 9000, etc.? If yes, you get 1 point. The next one is about CRM. If you have a CRM emailing software for client communication, you get 1 point. Otherwise, you get 0 point. Does the firm have an inventory of assets like we check whether a client has got an FAR for tangible intangible asset. We must also have an FAR for tangible intangible asset. If yes, we get 1 point. If no, we get 0 point. Are the assets given unique ID? If yes, 1 point. If no, 0 point. Are all the digital signatures in the custody of authorized person? Digital signature is very, very sensitive. Digital signature should be in the custody of authorized person so that nobody can misuse them. And if you have a authorized person and under a controlled environment, you get 1 point. Otherwise, you get 0 point. Does the firm have an approval system for usage of digital signature? If you have an approval system, then yes. If no, it is 0. You have a lot of IT systems. Do you have an annual maintenance contract for its support? That shows your maturity. If you do not have, you are vulnerable and you will get 0 point on that. Are there training being conducted on digital communication with the firm for its staff? If yes, 1. If no, 0. Does the firm sensitize people about cyberbullying, phishing attacks? For example, all of us know every day in the newspaper we read that this person has lost money, this person has lost data, he was fraudulently fooled. If we are trained, if we have trained our employees to be wary about the cyberbullying, phishing attacks, then we get 1 point. And if we have not done any such training, we get 0 point. Does the firm have an online demand learning portal? This can be the tool on the basis of which your training can be done. If you have such a portal, then you get 1 point. If you do not have such a portal, you get 0 point. Has the firm subscribed to any digital learning platform for skill development? If yes, you get 1 point. If no, you get 0 point. Is the staff encouraged to put IT to creative use? For example, if you have got people who have made a macro for efficiency, for deciding due date alerts, for deciding professional updates, or automating a routine function, if they have created a macro, then you get 4 points because that shows that your firm has reached that maturity. And if 1 or 2 initiatives have been done, you get 2 points. 3 to 4, you get 3 points. If more than 4 initiatives have been done across the firm, you get 4 points. These are basically where people have been trained to do macros. People have been trained to do some maintaining some records, some due date alerts, etc. If they have developed an in-house software and which helps the firm to find out, then you get points for that. Does the firm have a process of reviewing IT control before the start of audit? As I said, if you have an ITGCFR audit, which was there in the earlier one also, the 3.10.1, this and the one after this is also the same. So you get 1 point here also. Does the firm use any application software tool for audit planning, scheduling, resource deployment, tracking hours spent versus budget time? So if you have a software to keep track of your budget versus actual, then you get points for that. If you have 1 to 2 software, 1 point. If you have 3 to 4 software, 2 points. If you have more than 4 software, you have 3 points. So depending upon the number of things that you take care of, for example, for audit planning, if you have one software, for scheduling, you have another software, for tracking hours and time versus spend, you have another software, then you get 3 to 4 points, 3 points, up to maximum 3 points. Does the firm use automated audit tool for data sampling, analytics, etc.? For example, if you have an idea tool for sampling, or you have some other software, caseware software, then you will get 1 point for having such a software. Are the staff, including the article trained on usage of these tools? You get 1 point. You may have a software, but you have not trained your people, they get 0 points for that. So if you have a software, you get 1 point. If you have trained your people to use it, then you get 1 more point. Are the audit staff trained on identifying, obtaining, analyzing, and retaining relevant digital evidence pertaining to their audit work? If you have trained them to keep all the records in a particular format and store them in a systematic manner in your server, then you get 1 point. If not, you get 0 point. Are there scenarios where clients' core processes are fully automated and the audit staff uses the audit process in the system to verify the process rather than conducting the normal manual audit? So if you are auditing through the system, you have been trained to use the audit tool in the system, then you get 1 point. If not, then you get 0 point. If you have data analytic tools like ECAT or Power BI or Tableau, you get 1 point. These are not cheap software. So if your work is large, then only you may have, and then only you may score 1 point. Otherwise, these are all not cheap software, and having pirated is not advisable in these cases. Are any customized apps being used by the firm for regular office tasks like generating engagement, audit confirmation, invoice generation, etc.? If yes, then 1 point you get. If no, you get 0 point. Like even if you're using the CAQ tool for engagement letter generation, you will get 1 point over here. Has a firm used inbuilt audit capabilities in like, if you have trained people to do SAP audits or Oracle financial audit or Tally features, audit features in Tally, you get 1 point. And if you have not trained your people, you get 0 point over here. Are there mobile apps API for the firm's clients, article, etc., in which all the information pertaining to a firm is available and which is available to staff as well as a centralized server can solve this problem. If you have a mobile app or a centralized server where all the data is available, then you will get 1 point. Otherwise, you will get 0 point. So, friends, this is the coverage of the AQMM. This website is available on the CAQD portal and it is freely downloadable. I have also downloaded from there and make the presentation from there. This is meant for people who want to be trained and who want to train. So this presentation is available on the website. I will take you through, since I have some time, I will also take you through the tools which have been developed by the CAQD. Quickly, I'll run through their presentation and also I'll take you to the website also. This is a presentation on the various tools prepared by CAQD. I'll quickly run through this presentation and then take you to the website to show you how you can use these. CAQD has developed 5 tools. One is for the self-evaluation under AQMM 2.0. One is on utility and engagement letters. One is on utility for determined materiality. One is of review and monitoring tools for standard and audit compliance. And the last one is on the utility for bank branch audit 2025 edition. The first tool is on the utility for self-evaluation under AQMM 2. It's an Excel tool where the various questions which I went through in the last of the 3 sections are plotted. You score your points, you give your remarks, and on the basis of your scoring, it auto computes and decides your level, whether you are qualified, you get 30 points or not, and what will be your score. It does everything on its own. It's a tool which is macro driven, and it gives you all the information as to which level you are and where you're lacking. So, for example, it's a tool, for example, Excel, depending on the maximum score is 5. Depending upon your number, you write your score over here and you can write remarks. You can write our average revenue is 60% and that's why we are entitled to 3 points. So that's how you can put 3 over here. Yes, we have a vision mission statement. It is displayed in the office. You can write like that and get 2 points over here. The remark column is basically the basis of your scoring, which can also be looked at by your peer reviewer. Once you have done this entire updation, then depending upon your scoring, the ultimate summary sheet comes out. This is the summary sheet where you will find that if supposing I have less than 30 points over here, then I'm not eligible. If any of them is less than 30 points, it will say I'm not eligible in all the 3 of them. And it writes over here, not eligible. So based on my scoring, and I scoring at least 30% in each of the sections, it will decide my score and tell me my level. The next utility is on engagement letters. It's a very simple utility. The engagement letter formats are finalized. All you have to do is to this presentation tells you how to download the engagement letter tool and what are the steps to be taken, how to enable editing in Excel. Once done, this is the Excel file which will be generated. You fill up all the data into this Excel file, which is date of this engagement letter, your appointment date, to whom you want to address it, what is the name of the client, the address over there, what is the fees, who is the signing partner, etc. On the basis of this, automatically the utility will create engagement letter and save them engagement wise. All you have to do is print them, sign them, and dispatch them to the clients. You have to ensure that highlighted fields are not edited because this is a tool which has been done with the help of macros, and therefore if you disturb the fields where the data is going to get updated, then you will not get the desired results. The third utility is for determining materiality. It's a very comprehensive tool where you assign reasons why how you have determined materiality. The objective of this is to help you determine materiality. So in the beginning, you write the name of the entity, financial year, materiality stage, type of engagement, prepared by, reviewed by, and the date. Then there are about 27 questions. Supposing it's a new engagement, the risk is high, so you give a weightage of 10. If it's a startup entity, the systems are not robust, you give them 10. Significant concern identified at client acceptance containing, if it is low risk, you get 1 point. So depending upon the risk you determine, and you can write in the Excel next to this the reasons why you chose this and why you have said medium or right, so that there is a basis for your conclusion. On the basis of this, you will get a total score of say 62%. You may then, this is your definition. What you consider as low risk? 0 to 40 is low risk, 40 to 60 is medium risk, or 0 to 30 is low risk, 30 to 60 is medium, and anything above 60 is high risk. So if your score is 62, you are in a high risk category. If you're in a high risk category, the parameter said high risk category, the materiality is 5% to 7%. And depending upon your PAT, 5% will be the materiality. So if you're a profit-oriented entity, or you're a not-for-profit entity, you're a debt finance entity, you're a project under implementation which will be based on assets. Depending upon that, you decide your benchmark, you determine what is the risk you've done on the basis of this earlier slide. And if it's high, low, or medium, accordingly, it tells you the benchmark which has to be taken into consideration, and then it auto-computes the materiality once you feed the data of the PBT or the asset size. Once you've done that, the errors found can be put over here, and it will tell you whether the errors found are materially misstated or not materially misstated, and this becomes a document to calculate your material misstatement SA 450 evaluation. So this tool not only helps you determine the materiality, the errors which have not been corrected, if you feed over here, it will also tell you whether the errors are material and what is the uncorrected immaterial errors, what is the uncorrected material errors, and whether you should qualify or whether you should not qualify. This is a mega document, mega Excel file, which covers all the standards on auditing. I will open the Excel file after this presentation. I think I still have some time. I will do it, and I will show you how you have to update this. So here what happens is that this is the dashboard which tells you whether you have attended to this or not. How this dashboard gets updated is on the basis of the various Excel files that you have answered. So please note, the dashboard gets updated once you feed something. It is not AI enabled to know whether you fed right or wrong. If you were to write just ABC in the field, then also it will update over here. So therefore, all this helps you is to see whether you have answered those specific questions. It does not review the quality of the answer. So to that extent, it is not an AI tool, but is only a tool to help you answer questions, and on the basis of that to determine your coverage for the purpose of your indicative goals. So when you're answering questions, even if you write crap over there, it will update over here. But it is expected that this is a tool meant for our benefit. So we should be careful as to what we write. The minute we update an answer in that tool, it will update over here in my dashboard, and it will tell my overall coverage, whether it is indicative goals have been achieved or not. The last one is for utility of bank branch audit 2025 edition. Most of the bank branches are done. Possibly next year we'll update it again for 2026 edition. So you can use this tool. It tells you the table of content. Attendance sheets are updated automatically. Summary of MOCs that you want to prepare are updated automatically over here. Other matters are updated over here. It also has an audit trail, audit program for various items of the bank branch audit. For example, it tells you about, there's a tool which also tells you what is the type of audit opinion you must issue, and it will help you identify the audit tool. This is by and large basis the IG on 705, which also has a matrix like this. It will help you to tell you whether you must qualify, or you must do an adverse, or you must do a disclaimer opinion. So this has been brought in over here, and it tells you exactly what type of audit opinion you must do based on the type of your material misstatement. There are various templates that are available in this. So if you keep updating these templates, your audit program and your audit documentation gets updated. This also has programs and questions for cash, balances, RBI, money at shop, call notice, investment, advances, other assets, fixed assets. This is a tool basically to help you monitor your progress of work at the bank branch audit, and depending upon your answer, yet to be started or not started, depending upon the answers you give in those Excel files, this portion gets updated in the dashboard, and then you will know whether your work is completed or not completed, provided your people correctly answer in the Excel file. Thank you. I will now take you through the Excel files.
So can you just show how to download from our website? Because people are confused. Just you can show one of the utility now, so people will come to know how.
Go to Google and search for CAQD. Okay. Go to CAQD Directorate. Over here, you have tools and utilities developed by CAQD. Oh, sorry, I have not shared this.
Okay, yes.
Sorry. My bad. Let me do it again. I'll now share my screen. So over here, can everybody see the screen now? You go to Center for Audit Quality Directorate. Click on the Center for Audit Quality Directorate. You come to this page. At the bottom of this page, you find the tools and utility developed by CAQ. Go to this utility, and these are the 5 utilities which have been prepared. For example, you go to the utility for self-evaluation under AQMM 2.0. Click on this. There is a Google form which comes up. Okay, you give your email ID. Basically, it wants to know whether you are a genuine person or not. Give your name. Give your membership number. And give your contact phone number. Once you submit this, you get a link. Click on the link, and the tool has come. And over here, you download the tool, create a copy, download a copy, download this copy, open this tool. This is the Excel file. Okay. Now here,
just sorry to interrupt, sir. Just to explain that people have to work on the downloaded sheet
version.
Only,
You have to download and work on the downloaded version, not on the online version, because the online version is available only for, cannot be updated. You have to download what I showed you, and from there you have to work. So go to this self-evaluation sheet. Here, as I told you in the beginning, revenue from audit assurance, I have given myself 3 points, 2 points for having this thing. Okay. 8 points because I have SQC1, only few of them I have updated, not all of them. 12 points because I've done here. On the basis of these points that I've given myself, I have got a minus 30 because I had some negative points. Okay. Based on all of these, the summary comes out. And yes, I have got more than 30 in each of them. I was to get more than 111, more than 45, more than 24. So I'm eligible. And on the basis of my total score, I am a level 2 firm. Now, if I were to improve myself and I have not got any negative over here, I reduce this negative. No negative, nobody has done any advisory on my firm. Automatically, my score would go up and I have become 68, but still not eligible to become a level 3 firm. Let's go and give ourselves little more points. Okay, here also some negative is there. I did not do this also. I informed the institute about my negative points and I took UDINs well within time and I got 25 points over here. Okay, and out of 230, 173. So basis this, my summary, I have now become a level 3 firm. So this tool, if you answer sincerely and you give the reasons why you gave your answer, this will help you to decide which level firm you are automatically. You don't have to sit and do separate calculation. This is a tool to take care of this. So this is so far as the first utility is concerned. Let me open the other utility.
Answer, only one sheet is to be filled. The second one, self-evaluation.
Yeah, the self-evaluation sheet is be filled up. Summary will come automatically. Don't touch the other sheets. Just fill up the self-evaluation sheet. The summary will come automatically.
Right.
Now let's go to the next one. Let's go and download the materiality one. Same principle. Give your email ID, your name, you submit here, you download this, you go to the link over here. You can't utilize this. You'll have to go to the file section here, create a copy, download the copy, allow the download, and work on the downloaded copy on materiality. Now here, as I was telling you, calculating materiality, here, madam, you have updated this, huh? Very good.
We have updated it.
Yes, thank you. So this has been updated based on some suggestions from us. So as I told you, if it's not a new engagement, I say that it's a low risk if it's an existing engagement. And if it's a low risk, I can choose myself to give, say, 1 mark, 2 mark, or 3 mark. If I've been doing regularly, I think I have dependency on the client, I'll give myself 1 and I'll give a reason. Okay. Known client and reliable data. Right? That is why I've given myself 1 point. If it's not a startup, I will open this and I will say low risk and I will make this 1 and I'll say not a startup.
So can you just zoom it a little bit? Zoom it a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Can you see it?
Yeah, more visible now.
Yeah. So you write your reasons why you have come to. On the basis of that, you come to a score. Here it is 53. I have said from 0 to 30 is low risk. 30 to 60 is medium risk. And anything above 60 is high risk. So since my ratio is coming to 53, I'm in medium risk. I'm a profit-oriented company. My PBT is 4 crores. So basis 4 crores, my medium risk is 7 to 8%. So I will determine my percentage as 7%. On 7% on 4 crores, 28 lakhs is my overall materiality. Right? My performance materiality should be 3.5% or 50% of this, of the overall materiality, so it's 14%, and my immaterial materiality, I can say it's 1%, so 28,000. So anything which is below 28,000 is immaterial, or this is 5% of this amount. So if 28 lakhs is my materiality, 5% is immaterial, I say it is trivial. So 28 lakhs ka 5% is anything below 140 is trivial. I don't need to bother about it. Where my overall misstatement is above 14 lakhs, I will have to qualify because it becomes material misstatement. My performance materiality is 50% of my overall materiality. So assuming this is a 4 crore profit company, supposing it's a 100 crore profit company, immediately it becomes 7 crores and 350 and 35. And the higher the risk, this ratio will come down. For example, let us change some numbers here and let us make this a new entity. And I make it 10. The minute I make it 10, this is 58, something else also make it. I will, significant concerns. I will say yes, in the past also data was not up to the mark. Okay. And I give myself a score here of say 7. Okay. Data consistency and issue. Okay. So now my number has become 61. The minute it has become 61, I have become high risk. And my high risk criteria is 5 to 7%. So now I'll make it 5%. When I make it 5%, 5 crores become my materiality. So anything above 2.5 crores, my materiality comes down because I have to check more and more data. If the data is consistent and reliable, my materiality goes up. I can look at lesser number of transactions. If the materiality comes down, if the risk is high, the materiality comes down and I have to look at more data. That is the whole purpose of this. So this, when you fill it up properly, it gives you a basis to conclude why you chose 5%, 7%. And this can be a documentation tool for the purpose of determining materiality. So this is how you utilize the materiality tool. So as I said, all of these are available on the CAQD website. I will also show you where this presentation that I made on the AQMM is there. It's a RAR file. Allow it to extract, and then you open this. You are not entitled to make the change. It's password protected. You can only go through it. So you do a read only, and we are back to the presentation that I did some time back. So as part of dissemination, all of this is available on the CAQD website, including the presentation. Internally also, you can use this presentation to make a presentation to your team members how to fill up AQMM. You can do it between your friends also using this tool, because you're not entitled to change the tool. You can use this presentation to make it internally to others also. I have also taken permission and used it for the purpose of this presentation. And this presentation is kept over here so that people can learn and use this presentation. That's it, Madam Nidhi. If there's anything else, please let me know.
Right. So shortly we'll be having Vice Chairman of Peer Review Board, CA Gyanchand Mishra sir, with us. So he'll give his concluding remarks for that. And thank you, sir, for the presentation. And one more thing, just we have launched this tool on AQMM. Hello, good evening. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, madam.
We had a wonderful session on this overview of AQMM and the peer review portal, which is shortly going to be launched by the peer review board. So it was a wonderful session being taken by Mohitji and Jaindran sir. And I welcome you to give a concluding remarks. About 1,000 plus participants had joined this session.
Wow.
Over to you, sir.
So much thank you, madam, and very respected speaker of today's program, Jaindran ji.
Hanji, sir.
And of course, Mohit Bajalji, on behalf of Peer Review Board, we understand that AQMM is one of the very important aspect which the audit firms need to observe as of now. And it doesn't only, give the direction to calibrate the quality of the audit, but it also gives a clear opinion about the models which need to follow and how to go ahead with the best of the quality with respect to the audit and assurance. Peer review board, as we understand that, is very important board of the institute, which not only tries to give the process of the documentation and its verification, but also it tries to guide the members and practicing units that the documentation of the various assurance papers and of course to observe the various standards, regulations, ethics is very much important for the professionals at large. So today's this about 2 hours webinar has certainly been very much fruitful to all of us, and I'm sure that the board and of course the audit quality maturity model which today has been discussed shall be implemented by us, and we will ensure that the quality is at top in the practice at every aspect. So much thankful to the speakers, to the participants.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jendran sir, also for the nice session.
Thank you.
And yes, most of the people wanted the presentation. So as Jendran sir has already informed that the presentation is available on the CAQ page of the ICI website, and the video of this webinar will also be shortly be uploaded by us on the CAQ page. Maybe in a day or two, you will be able to view that video also. So thank you, participants.
Thank you. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.